I transmigrated into Great Zia as a dying 7th prince, spent years acting useless so the court would exile me into retirement, and somehow my dream fief was so broken it could not even serve me clean water. But before the mudwater reality check, I thought I had won. 27th year of Jingyuan Winter, capital city, Hall of Supreme Harmony. Emperor Shen Hongzhang sits on the dragon throne, the officials are lined up. The princes are waiting, and today is the grand title ceremony where every son gets his future assigned in public. Very normal royal HR meeting. Extremely calm, nobody is measuring who got the better fief with their eyes. Definitely not. The eunuch reads the edict for my third brother first. Shen Shaoyang becomes the young prince, gets Qin province as his fief, and receives 8,000 households as taxable income. Qin province is the western gateway of the empire, loaded with strategic passes and heavy troops. So the military prince basically gets handed the premium warlord starter pack. He steps out in armor, thanks the emperor in a booming voice, and his generals behind him are already celebrating with their eyes. The crown prince Shen Rui already stays in the capital because he was born of the empress. The other princes get either rich southern lands or bustling important cities. Everyone is eating well at this buffet. Then all eyes slide to the end of the line. Shen Qing'an, 16 years old, thin enough that the ceremonial robes hang off me wrong. Coughing non-stop, pale lips, no backing, no maternal clan, and an imperial physician already saying I probably will not live past 20. In court terms, I am less a prince and more a decorative warning label. The eunuch clears his throat and reads the final edict. Because I am gentle, sickly, and unsuitable for strenuous labor, I am enfiefed as the idle prince, given 3,000 households as taxable income and sent to Yun province. The entire hall goes silent. Yun province is a northern border wasteland near the Tianlang tribe grasslands, with drought 9 years out of 10, and land so barren even the toughest shrubs struggle. Banished officials would rather die at the palace gates than take a post there. This is not a reward. This is the court politely sliding me into the empire's recycle bin. Third brother smirks. The crown prince frowns like he feels bad. Emperor Shen Hongzhang looks at me with guilt and relief sitting on the same face, which is honestly impressive multitasking. Everyone waits for me to collapse. I almost do collapse, but for the opposite reason. Because inside I am screaming. Yun province, I got Yun province. Jackpot? In my last life, when I was Shen Yao, I worked myself to death after 30 years of overtime. And my reward was a cold cup of instant coffee beside a green project launch pop-up. Now heaven has handed me the one fief nobody wants. Nobody will fight me for it. Nobody will watch me closely. Nobody will expect results. Retirement has entered the chat. Of course, I cannot grin in the Hall of Supreme Harmony like I just won the lottery. I have been acting sick for years, and this is not the moment to fumble the performance review. So I bury the joy under a violent coughing fit, bend over like my lungs are filing a resignation letter, and wave off the little eunuch trying to help me. Then I drag myself to the center of the hall, bow to the emperor, and thank him in the weakest voice possible. I say I will recuperate properly in Yun province and not fail the vast imperial grace. Translation: Father, thank you for mailing me directly to my dream retirement village. I nearly fall after speaking, get caught by the eunuch, and keep my eyes lowered so nobody sees the triumph underneath. Whole roasted lamb, big mansion, hot spring pool. Yun province, I am coming. After the ceremony, I float out of the Hall of Supreme Harmony under a blizzard of pity and contempt. Two little eunuchs whisper that I am pitiful and probably do not have many years left in Yunzhou. Then they notice Crown Prince Shen Rui personally coming over to comfort me. He tightens my cloak like the benevolent elder brother everyone thinks he is and tells me Yunzhou is harsh and cold. So if I lack anything, I can send word to the capital and he will find a way. Beautiful performance. Warm tone, gentle hands, court-approved compassion. The Oscars are standing up in tears. Inside, I know exactly what this is. He would love for me to quietly die in Yunzhou and reduce the number of princes breathing near the throne. Outside, I bow with deep gratitude and tell him this younger brother is moved by his concern. Then third brother's group passes nearby, and one of his bearded generals laughs loudly that Yunzhou has more wolves than people. So I should not get eaten as medicine because nobody will collect my body. I pretend not to hear it. Honestly, let them laugh. Every insult is just another layer of camouflage over my beautiful plan. The second my carriage curtain drops, I stop acting. I melt into the cushion, smile like an idiot, and pull a smooth pebble from my sleeve. That little stone came from my previous life, picked up outside my company when stress had squeezed sleep out of me. It followed me through late-night overtime, then somehow crossed over with me when I became this ignored 7th prince. The original Shen Qing'an had it rough. His birth mother was just a palace maid who died early. He grew up bullied, neglected, weak, insecure, and eventually died quietly from an ordinary cold. When I opened my eyes in his body, I did not celebrate becoming a prince. I panicked because prince sounds fancy until you remember imperial families solve workplace competition with poison, knives, and genealogy edits. I already worked myself to death once. I was not about to reincarnate just to join a throne war with worse benefits. So from day one, I built the ultimate strategy: lie flat. I used the original body's frailty as my main asset, avoided anything that might make me look healthy or ambitious, and carefully marketed myself as harmless, weak, foolish, and useful only as a contrast against my stronger brothers. The throne? Absolutely not. I did not transmigrate for overtime with a crown. Then I studied the Great Xia map like a project manager doing competitive analysis. Jiangnan was rich, which meant every ambitious prince would circle it. Shu region had powerful local families, which meant endless negotiations with people who already owned the room. The Central Plains were strategic thoroughfares, which meant if war came, I would become the floor mat. One by one, I crossed them off. Then Yunzhou appeared, remote, poors, ignored, borderland, no products worth stealing, no nobles worth impressing, no ambitious officials lining up to make their career there. Imperial decrees would take forever to arrive. The emperor would be far away. As long as I did not rebel and the Tianlang tribe did not kill me, maintaining the status quo would already count as overperforming. That was the dream, not glory, not reform, not return to the capital and shock everyone, please. I wanted wine, barbecue, a fireplace, a lounge chair, a hot spring, and nobody asking me for quarterly reports. Days later, my convoy leaves capital city's west gate for Yunzhou. It is not too luxurious, but it carries proper princely regalia. My royal guard captain, Luo Cheng, rides beside the main carriage on a black horse. He is 20, sharp-eyed, from a northern military family, skilled with the blade, and stuck with me after leaving the army because his superiors embezzled military pay. To him, guarding a sickly idle prince is supposed to be a quiet dead-end job. No battlefield, no office politics, just practice martial arts and escort a man slowly toward obscurity. 20 li outside the city, the convoy reaches Soul-Severing Slope, a narrow mountain pass where two mountains squeeze the road. Bandits hit that area often, because apparently even roads in this dynasty have trap settings. Before we enter, scouts rush back. Ahead, they found chaotic wheel tracks, signs of fierce fighting, and large patches of blood. A merchant convoy was robbed not long ago. Luo Cheng scouts personally with 2 guards, then returns to my carriage. He reports that about 20 seasoned bandits likely attacked, took all valuables, and left corpses everywhere. He also found a survivor in the roadside bushes. A merchant apprentice around 13 or 14, stabbed in the abdomen, badly wounded but still alive. His recommendation is the textbook answer: send people to give first aid, retreat, and take the official road 30 li away. It adds about a day and a half, but the terrain is safer. Good plan, responsible plan. A plan designed by a man who has never seen me protect a hot spring reservation. Inside the carriage, I hand out my charcoal hand warmer and ask what he just said. Detour, how much longer? He says a day and a half. I almost ascend out of my own body. No, absolutely not. I have planned the route. In 2 days, we reach the next major post station, and the Tangshan hot springs there used to be the previous emperor's private baths. A detour ruins the whole schedule. My guy, I did not survive imperial exile just to lose the bath arc. Luo Cheng is stunned. From his angle, I sound like a spoiled prince who cares more about soaking in hot water than a wounded boy and a possible ambush. His disappointment practically leaks through the carriage curtain. Then he pushes again. There may be an ambush. The survivor needs treatment, so I explain badly because I am annoyed and half asleep. The bandits already robbed the merchant convoy. What kind of bandit immediately robs the same spot twice? Do they clock in? From an input-output ratio, that is a terrible deal. Luo Cheng hears input-output ratio and looks like I just invented a new martial art. And more importantly, that injured boy cannot survive an extra day and a half being bounced along a detour. The fastest way to save him is to go straight through, reach the next town, and find a doctor. Safety theater does not help if the patient dies during the scenic route. That lands, Luo Cheng still worries about an ambush, so I ask whether the dozens of guards under him are decorations. He immediately says they are elites, and dealing with 20 or 30 bandits would be easy. Then I give the orders. Send 2 agile guards to the highest point on the slope. One keeps watch, the other makes noise and throws stones down to test whether anyone reacts. If nobody moves, we pass at full speed. If enemies appear, we form up here, wipe them out fast, and keep moving. I call it a pressure test. Do not delay my hot springs. Do not delay saving someone. Both can be true of efficiency people. The curtain drops, and Luo Cheng is left outside with his worldview doing cartwheels. He follows the order anyway. 2 guards climb the high point, throw stones, startle a few birds, and nothing else happens. No ambush. The convoy takes the wounded apprentice onto a supply cart, gives him emergency bandaging, and passes through Soul-Severing Slope safely at full speed. That evening, we reach the post station half a day early, and the boy gets treatment in time. He survives. Now Luo Cheng cannot stop replaying it. His safe plan would have killed the apprentice. My selfish-sounding plan saved him, protected the convoy, and tested the danger with almost no cost. Late that night, while I am wrapped in fox fur by the brazier drinking hot tea, he comes in and asks me to explain input-output ratio and pressure test. He thinks these are profound military strategies. Audience, they are not. One is business math. The other is what corporate people do before a system collapses in production. But I cannot say that, so I give him the ancient world-friendly version. Input is what bandits spend, time, manpower, risk. Output is what they steal. Once the profit is already made, a smart bandit does not immediately repeat a high-risk losing deal. Pressure test means using the smallest cost to probe the enemy's true strength, instead of sending a whole team to die. Luo Cheng goes completely still. To him, this is not lazy office logic. This is battlefield enlightenment wrapped in tea steam. He bows and says my wisdom is unfathomable, and he is fully convinced. Meanwhile, my only thought is that I somehow bluffed my way through explaining behavioral economics to an ancient soldier. More tiring than a PowerPoint. Fine, let him be impressed. I have hot springs to pursue. For nearly another month, the convoy keeps traveling north. The warm capital disappears behind us. The wind gets sharper, and the scenery turns from lively roads to barren yellow land. Then one day, a scout rushes back with the news. Yunzhou City is 10 li ahead. Finally, I tuck the smooth pebble back into my sleeve, stretch, and tell my maid, Zio Ning, to make sure the bags of Shu region peppercorns and spices are protected. Those spices are my lifeline for winter. You can take my status, you can take my court influence, but do not touch the seasoning. I lift the carriage curtain and see the outline of a city beneath the gray sky. The walls look tall from far away, the great Xia flag is still flying, and there are even a few fields outside the city, already harvested but neatly divided. For one shining second, I relax. Maybe the rumors were exaggerated. Maybe Yunzhou is poor but functional. As long as there is a manner to block the wind and a hot meal waiting inside, my retirement plan is still alive. I even tell Luo Cheng to find me a skilled carpenter once we arrive, because I have drawn plans for a folding lounge chair with an adjustable angle. Yes, I arrived at the frontier and immediately began procurement for advanced laziness technology. Then we get closer. The city walls are covered in web-like cracks. Weeds grow from the bricks. Collapsed sections near the base are patched with rotten wood and dirt. I begin the first round of mental damage control. Appearance is not everything. This is not a vanity project. The inside can still be fine. At the gate, soldiers in faded leather jackets are leaning against the wall asleep in the sun. One has drool on his chest. When my vanguard shouts, they jolt awake and scramble for weapons like they forgot which dynasty they serve. Second round of damage control. Maybe lazy soldiers are good. Less drilling, less noise, very peaceful, retirement-friendly if you squint hard enough to injure yourself. The officials are waiting under the city gate arch. At their head is the prefect of Yunzhou, Guo Wen, almost 50, thin as bamboo, wearing a faded blue robe with frayed cuffs and a black gauze cap that looks too big for him. Behind him are several minor officials, all sallow-faced and nervous, as if greeting me is not an honor but a debt collector arriving early. Guo Wen bows deeply and welcomes the idle prince with extreme respect. That gives me one last little spark of hope. Maybe the place is materially poor, but the officials are honest. Maybe I step down from the carriage with Zio Ning supporting me, cough violently enough to maintain the brand, and ask Guo Wen why the fields and houses outside the city look so sparse. Is Yunzhou's population low? Population is a major performance indicator for a prefecture, so the question hits him right where it hurts. He bends lower, sweats, and says Yunzhou is vast and sparsely populated, but most of the commoners live inside the city. Lie, there are barely any households outside. If the city is somehow packed, I will personally apologize to mathematics. I look past him into Yunzhou, and my last comfort dies on contact. The streets are pitted dirt and gravel. Wind throws dust everywhere. The houses on both sides are low, broken, and patched with rags in the windows. There are only a few pedestrians, all gaunt and dressed in tattered clothes. When they see the princely procession, there is no curiosity, no awe, not even fear with energy behind it. Just numbness. They lower their heads and avoid looking too long, like attention itself might bring disaster. The air smells like dust, animal waste, and poverty. My heart drops all the way down. It is over. I dreamed of a furnished retirement home with a hot spring pool. Reality handed me a bare house without water, electricity, or dignity. No internet either, but honestly at this point, even clean water is starting to sound premium. On my face, I stay calm and sickly. I tell Guo when the wind is strong and I am unwell, so we can discuss everything inside the estate. The ride from the city gate to the prince's manor is short, but it dismantles me piece by piece. The carriage wheels slam over uneven roads until my organs feel rearranged. 9 out of 10 houses are empty. The few open ones show bare walls. A child about 7 or 8 crouches barefoot in thin, ragged clothes, scraping frozen ground with a twig. He glances at the convoy, then lowers his head again with eyes so empty he does not even have curiosity left. I lower the curtain and grip the pebble in my sleeve. My hot pot, my lounge chair, my hot bath, all of it gets crushed under the carriage wheels of reality. Finally, we stop at the so-called Idle Prince's Manor. It is larger than the nearby civilian houses, yes, but also deeply dilapidated. A newly hung plaque with the words Idle Prince's Manor sits crookedly over the gate, the ink not even dry. Turns out the manor is an abandoned former general's residence from the previous dynasty. When I step inside, I almost gasp, but thankfully I am a professional fraud, so I convert it into a cough. The courtyard is big, with bare crooked trees and peeling red paint on the pillars. Dead vines cling to cracked wood. This is not a prince's manor. This is a haunted property listing with imperial branding. Luo Cheng and the guards look furious. His hand goes to his sword because making a prince live here is an insult to royal prestige. I shake my head to stop him, partly because I do not want drama on day one, partly because I am already calculating whether the courtyard can grow vegetables if we clean it up. Listen, when life gives you a cursed mansion, check the soul quality. Inside the main hall, the officials have prepared a welcome banquet using everything Yunzhou can provide. They invite me to the head seat, and I look at the table. The final illusion shatters. There is thick millet porridge with a few dark boiled beans. There is pickled bok choy, yellow and sour smelling. There are dry radish strips. The main dish is boiled lamb, barely acceptable in theory, except the broth is basically bland water with a few lonely scallions, and the meat still smells gamey. This is a feast. To be fair, it is not as bad as the nightmare version in my head. To be less fair, my old company's annual meeting served better food, and that event was designed by people who thought morale was a spreadsheet color. Guo Wen and the officials keep their heads down, sweating. He explains that Yunzhou is barren. The cattle and sheep are thin, and this is already everything the prefecture could bring out for me. He asks forgiveness. I say nothing. I pick up one thin slice of lamb, taste it, swallow without changing expression, and set down my chopsticks. Everyone freezes. Then I look at the chipped clay bowls in front of us. The water inside is murky. Fine grains of sand settle at the bottom. I pick up one bowl, do not drink, and only bring it close enough to smell. Earth, decay, filth, meager food can be poverty. I can understand poverty, but failing to provide even one clean bowl of water to a newly arrived prince is not just scarcity. That is either total collapse or total disrespect, and either answer is terrible. The hall goes quiet. I call Luo Cheng. He steps forward immediately. I say I am thirsty and tell him to bring our own water skin. He returns with a large cowhide water skin and a clean white porcelain bowl. He sets the bowl down with a sharp clunk, then slowly sweeps his gaze over every Yunzhou official like he is choosing whose career dies first. He pours clear water into the porcelain bowl. The contrast is brutal. Clear water beside muddy water. White porcelain beside chipped clay. Silence beside panic. Guo Wen turns pale and starts trembling under his official robe. In his mind, this sickly idle prince has just made the first power move. No shouting, no table flipping, just one bowl of clean water exposing that Yunzhou's government cannot even provide the basics. And yes, to be clear, I was actually thirsty. But the room reads it as political violence. So now I have accidentally asserted dominance with hydration. I skim the surface of the water with the bowl lid, and the sound is tiny, but in that hall it might as well be thunder. Then a young clerk named Lin Rui snaps. He has been watching my calm expression, my faint smile, and the officials shrinking under the humiliation. He cannot stand seeing Yunzhou's efforts and dignity trampled. So he steps forward and says loudly that Your Highness does not understand. Yunzhou has suffered severe drought for many years. Rainfall is scarce. The city's only old well is nearly dry. For common people, drinking this water is already a blessing, and they never intended to neglect me. His voice cuts through the dead silence. And that is where Yunzhou finally stops being my retirement joke and starts becoming my problem. That one muddy bowl of water turns into a full official showdown, because by morning I am not just fixing a well anymore. I am about to challenge my third brother's hidden people, crack open the imperial granary, and somehow turn a hot-headed archive clerk into my first weapon. It starts with Lin Rui's shout, landing in the hall like he has just thrown himself in front of a carriage. Guo Wen glares at him so hard I can practically hear the old man's soul saying, "Are you trying to die today?" Because from his angle, all I need is a polite excuse to step down from this awkward banquet. Instead, this young lushy of the prefectural yamen has decided now is the perfect time to explain why the prince should accept mud water with gratitude. Bold career strategy, terrible survival instincts. I keep holding my clean porcelain bowl and skim the surface with the lid like I am tasting imperial tribute tea. There is no foam, there is nothing to skim, but every slow movement makes the officials sweat harder. So apparently hydration theater has amazing crowd control. After a long silence, I finally look at Lin Rui and ask his name. He stammers it out, Lin Rui, lushy of the prefectural yamen. So I ask him one simple question. If Yunzhou has suffered drought for years and the old well is nearly dry, Why did I see the Blackwater River about 10 li outside the city? The riverbed is shallow, yes, but it has not dried up. Why guard a dying well while a river still exists nearby? Lin Rui chokes. The river is far, he says. Fetching water takes time and effort. The river has quicksand, and the water is turbid, unfit for drinking. There it is, not no water, difficult water, dangerous water, dirty waters, very different problem. I stop looking at him and turn to Guo Wen. In Yunzhou, who handles water conservancy, farmland, and livelihood affairs. Guo Wen knows he cannot dodge this. He bows and says that according to Great Zia's official system, those matters belong to the prefectural Zhubu. While saying it, his eyes flick toward a slightly plump middle-aged man with an H-shaped mustache, shrinking behind the others and trying to become furniture. I remember him immediately. That man is the water problem with a mustache. I take one small sip of my own clean water, set the bowl down and stand up. I tell them I am tired, thank them for the welcoming banquet, and order Luo Cheng to see the guests out. No shouting, no punishment, no dramatic table smash. I just end the banquets. Somehow that is worse. Everyone leaves under invisible pressure, and the cheerful welcome feast dies on the floor beside the muddy bowls. That night I cannot sleep. I lie on a hard wooden plank bed that smells like age and regret, listening to the north wind scrape across the broken estate. My shut-in fat prince dream has been murdered within 1 day of arrival. This is not survival mode. This is the tutorial failing to load while the boss fight starts. So my old occupational disease activates. Project Manager Brain. I sit up in the dark, grab the smooth pebble by my pillow, and force myself to analyze the disaster like a cursed unfinished project. Codenamed Yunzhou City Life Flat Retirement Plan. Not version 1.0. We are at version negative confidence. The first pain point is survival resources. Food is crude, drinking water is unsafe. The estate needs repairs or winter will personally collect me. Food, water, shelter. The holy trinity of maybe do not die. Then I think about Lin Rui's words. The Blackwater River is 10 li away. 10 li is not nothing, but for a city it should not be impossible. Organize carts, send laborers, build a system, unless people are afraid to leave the city. That points to bandits. And if bandits are that active, why has nobody suppressed them? People? The answer is always people, because apparently every era has middle management. Guo Wen looks like an old fox who survived by doing less, but he still seems to know shame. Lin Rui is hot-blooded, impulsive, and currently using his conscience without a steering wheel. The Zhubu with the mustache is different. 9 times out of 10, he controls the old well, squeezes the people through water quotas and turns scarcity into profit. An incompetent leader, a reckless complainer, a greedy parasite, Yunzhou's management team is assembled like someone lost a bet with the universe. I push open the window a crack. The cold wind slaps me awake. Outside, Yunzhou is silent enough to feel like a tomb. Complaining is useless. If I want to lie down comfortably, I first have to make the floor stop collapsing. So I build the roadmap. First, establish authority through water. Second, improve food, tools, composting, and the manor itself. Third, reorganize security, suppress the bandits, and take back the Blackwater River route. And fourth, most important, find someone reliable enough to dump the actual work on. Because yes, I am planning governance, but spiritually I am still trying to outsource governance. Growth mindset but lazy. By dawn I have not slept, but the plan is clear. I call outside and order Luo Cheng and Guo when to come to the main hall in 1 hour. Lie flat, still the dream. First I have to launch the project. When pale morning light cuts through the window lattice, I am already dressed and sitting at the head of the cleaned up but still broken main hall. On the table are a blank sheet of paper, a charcoal pencil, and a bowl of clear water personally brought by Luo Cheng. Behind me, Luo Cheng stands with his saber like a silent iron pillar. Guo Wen arrives in a hurry. He also looks like he lost a fight with sleep. Good, team bonding through exhaustion. I let the silence stretch, then point at the 2 things I cannot compromise on. First, my bed. I spend most of my day in bed, so if the bed is bad, I cannot live. Second, the water. I am particular about my palate, and I cannot drink sand. Guo Wen has no idea how to respond, because technically I sound ridiculous, but also everyone saw the mud bowl. Then I tell him the real agenda. Yunzhou has countless problems, so we start with one. Drinking water for the soldiers and civilians of Yunzhou City. As the parent official of a prefecture, surely he has a plan. He does not have a plan. He has 3 mountains. First, there is no flowing water in the city, only the old well, and the water is nearly depleted. Second, the Blackwater River is outside the city, and the route passes Black Wind Mountain where bandits kill and rob. Third, the imperial granary is empty, and the government has no spare grain to hire laborers for water conservancy projects. 6-word summary, cannot do it, no way. I listen calmly while my soul recognizes the ancient version of a department head listing blockers before the kickoff meeting has even started. No resources, no timeline, too risky, please cancel the project and leave my inbox alone. So I ignore the whining and ask how the old well water is distributed. Guo Wen immediately gets unnatural. He says the well concerns public livelihood, so he has not dared to act alone. It has always been managed by the prefectural Zhubu, a man named Han Tai who distributes water daily according to household registration. Interesting? If quotas are fixed, I ask, what happens when a family has an emergency? A wedding, a funeral, medicine for a patient. Where does the extra water come from? Guo Wen starts sweating like his robe has filed a complaint. He says Han Tai sometimes spares stored water from his residence for urgent needs. I ask the question very softly. Spared or sold? Guo Wen drops to his knees. There it is. Han Tai controls the only old well, secretly sells extra water at high prices, and everyone in Yunzhou knows it. Nobody says it, nobody can stop it. Guo Wen has been turning a blind eye because he is powerless. I smile and the old prefect nearly freezes. If Han Tai has clean stored water at his residence, why did he not provide any for the prince's welcoming banquet? Why did he make me, Guo Wen, and every official present drink muddy soup? The answer is obvious. He had clean water, he chose not to use it. That means he does not just exploit the people. He does not put me in his eyes either. I tell Guo Wen I am not angry. I am just thinking. If the officials can be deceptive and careless over a bowl of water, then what does that say about major governance matters involving the lives and property of the whole city? The problem is not only water, not only poverty, not only bandits, it is administration. The rules have broken, the hearts have rotted, so administration will begin with this bowl of water. And I want to see who exactly wants me and the people of this city to keep drinking mud. Guo Wen collapses on the ground, because now he understands the sickly prince is getting serious. Meanwhile, inside my head, I am screaming. Why does everything have to be said in layers? In my last life, a disobedient department head could be handled with one email and a forwarded screenshot. Here I have to perform moral thunder with a teacup. Ancient bureaucracy, very aesthetic, very annoying. I tell Guo when to get up. I will not pursue his past dereliction, only his future performance. Then I break his 3 mountains into 3 tasks. Task 1, technical breakthrough. The Blackwater River is turbid, not impossible. I will handle purification. Clean water can be made. Task 2, risk elimination. Black Wind Mountain bandits. I ask Luo Cheng if he can suppress them. He says as long as he knows their details, a mob of rabble is nothing. Good, security line assigned. Task 3, resource allocation. Guo Wen must post a notice immediately. The idle prince's estate will begin water conservancy work and recruit laborers. Anyone who works gets 2 full meals a day, and when the work is complete, each person receives 10 caddies of grain. Guo Wen panics. Spending my personal treasury damages royal dignity. I tell him I have arrangements. This is work relief. Better to give vagrants work than let them steal chickens in the city. Then I send Luo Cheng to inspect the imperial granary. The court allocates border defense relief grain to settle the border soldiers and civilians every year. The autumn grain should have arrived long ago. I want to know how much is left, what quality it is, and whether insects or rats have damaged it. Guo Wen turns ashen, which tells me the answer before the audit even starts. That grain has probably been sold off by Han Tai and the granary officials. Beautiful. The emergency pantry got converted into someone's private revenue stream. I tell Luo Cheng to inspect it, seal the granary, allow no one in or out, then report back so I can calculate whether there is enough grain to pay the laborers. Then I smile at Guo Wen and ask, see, have I not solved the money and grain problem too? Project kickoff meeting concluded. Technology, security, human resources. 3 lines in parallel. I even tell Guo when to invite Han Tai. Since he has managed Yunzhou's water for years, such an expert should guide the work. 1 hour passes. Han Tai does not come. The brazier is burning. The hall is suffocatingly quiet, and I lean back with my eyes closed while my fingers tap the armrest. Finally, the guard returns. Han Tai's housekeeper says the Zhubu caught a cold this morning and is ill in bed, unable to meet me. Sick. On the exact morning, I ask questions. Amazing immune system, politically responsive. The guard also reports that Luo Cheng went to the imperial granary, but the granary official, Sun Maokai, refused to open the doors. He says the imperial granary is a vital imperial site, and without a joint inspection document from the prefecture and the Ministry of Revenue, entry is forbidden. Otherwise, it is treason. Treason? We went from please open the pantry to sir, Are you overthrowing the empire in one sentence? Customer service escalated the ticket directly to execution. I dismissed the guard and asked Guo Wen if he heard all that. Guo Wen lowers his voice and asks me to clear the hall. That is never a relaxing sentence. Once the guards leave, Guo Wen bends even lower and finally tells me the truth. Han Tai is reckless because one of his distant cousins is a favored concubine in 3rd Prince Shen Shaoyang's residence. And Sun Maokai, the granary official, was originally transferred from Qin province, 3rd brother's fief. So Yunzhou's money, grain, and personnel are under Guo Wen in name, but secretly controlled by the Yang Prince's people. Guo Wen has been sidelined for years, kept as a figurehead. For the first time, this feels genuinely tricky. Han Tai is not just a corrupt local official. He is holding the place for my 3rd brother. If I force the granary open, Sun Maokai only has to scream that the 7th prince plundered the imperial granary and attempted treason. By the time the news reaches the capital, father already dislikes me enough. That charge could bury me. Violence will not work, and that annoys me because violence was not even my favorite option. I wanted a nap-based government model. I rub the pebble in my sleeve and force myself to calm down. The real conflict is not me against Han Tai. It is me, the new project manager, against Shen Shaoyang, the hidden big boss. Han Tai and Sun Maokai are just embedded supervisors and auditors. If I force the project through without procedure, they will brand me as irregular and shut me down. So I look at Guo Wen differently. If he were truly useless, Han Tai would have removed him. But Guo Wen has stayed as Zhizhu for years because the old system needs him. He is the legitimate seal. The ceremonial tablet, the soft public face that lets corrupt people pretend the prefecture still has order. And if he has been suppressed for years, maybe he is not content. That means he can be used. I tell him that his value is not in competence, but in being necessary. Han Tai needs him to deceive outsiders. 3rd brother needs him to maintain the surface peace of Yunzhou. Like an old pillar in a broken house, he may be ugly, but he cannot be casually removed. Guo Wen looks like I have peeled his life open in front of him. Then I ask whether there are other people in Yunzhou like him. Talented, suppressed by Han Tai's faction, and frustrated with nowhere to go. He immediately thinks of someone. Lin Rui, the same hothead from the banquet. A successful candidate in the imperial examination from the 24th year of Jingyuan, solid scholarship, upright character. And because he refused to join Han Tai's group, he was thrown into managing prefectural archives for 3 years. Basically a cold palace for paperwork. Not even rats were motivated to visit. Perfect, a blade with principles and no handle. I can work with that. I summon him. When Lin Rui arrives, I am sitting in the main hall doodling a strange square chair with a backrest and armrests on the back of a discarded official document. Yes, even during a political crisis, the lounge chair survives. Priorities? He bows and waits, terrified I called him in to punish him for contradicting me yesterday. I ask why he defended Guo Wen and the officials at the banquet. He says Yunzhou is poor and the officials have been derelict, but they did not intentionally slight me. He did not want me to hate everyone in the city. I ask whether, in his opinion, I was wrong to blame them. He says my Clearwater warning was profound, but he acted impulsively because his words carry little weight and he did not want Yunzhou misunderstood. Not bad, honest, still a little too eager to run headfirst into walls. But at least the wall can respect the effort. So I tell him the truth. He was foolish. He thought he was defending Yunzhou's dignity, but what he defended was a rotten old order. A good blade, newly forged but unsharpened. See a rock, swing hard, chip yourself, accomplish nothing. That hits him because it describes his last 3 years perfectly. Then I question him down to the roots. Why did I refuse the muddy water? Because it was unclean. Why was it unclean? Because the well was drying up, water was difficult, and nobody purified it. But if an imperial prince arriving at his fief cannot get one clean bowl at a welcoming banquet, can that really be explained by poverty alone? Lin Rui finally understands. The color drains from his face. I tell him that what the eyes see is often what others want you to see, and the rules people believe in are often tools used to bind them. I need to solve the water shortage, build water conservancy projects, suppress bandits, and pacify the people. All of that needs money and grain. The only hope is the border defense relief grain in the imperial granary. But someone does not want me to touch it. I explain the situation. Han Tai is sick. Sun Maokai guards the granary behind the Great Xia laws and says without Ministry of Revenue documents, opening the granary is treason. Meanwhile, Guo Wen has already posted the work relief notice. Hungry people are probably gathering at the city gate, waiting for work and life-saving porridge. The grain is behind the door and we cannot get it. Then I ask Lin Rui, the law scholar, how to handle it. His first idea is for Guo Wen to use his official seal and force the granary open. No, an official who cannot even drink clean water does not have a seal worth much in front of Han Tai's faction. That only gives them evidence that we disregard the law. His second idea is reporting to the imperial court for an imperial decree. Also know, a memorial from Yunzhou to the capital takes about half a month by express horse. The approval and return take another half month. 1 month total. The starving people cannot wait a month. The work relief notice cannot wait a month. My fragile little retirement plan cannot sit there blinking while the server catches fire. Lin Rui freezes. Direct force does not work. Routine procedure does not work. The granary law really is strict, and Sun Maokai is hiding behind it perfectly. For a moment, even I get irritated. These rules were written to govern the country, not starve people to death. If the law's purpose is to pacify the people and stabilize the state, then using the law to block disaster relief is trampling the law's spirit with the law's own boots. And that is when Lin Rui thinks of the military law chapter. There is an emergency border defense regulation. In border prefectures, during foreign invasion, large-scale civil unrest, or major natural disasters serious enough to shake the foundation of the state, the highest local military commander and an imperial prince with authority to supervise the state can, while reporting to the court, first requisition money, grain, and supplies inside the prefecture to stabilize morale and the overall situation. Foreign invasion, no. No. Civil unrest, not yet. Major natural disaster. Yunzhou has suffered severe drought for 3 years. Yes, and hungry people gathering because of that drought could become unrest at any moment. There is the chain. Lin Rui's eyes light up. He drops to his knees and says he has a solution. Use the Emergency Border Defense Situation Disposal Regulation in the Great Xia Laws. Military Law Chapter. Yunzhou's 3-year drought is a natural disaster. The starving people are a sign of possible civil unrest. I am an imperial prince stationed at the frontier, responsible for supervising the state and pacifying the people. Under emergency conditions, I can requisition the imperial granary's money and grain first to stabilize the situation and provide disaster relief. And if Sun Maokai still blocks us with the granary law, then he is disregarding national safety and defying military law. Punishable by death. The hall goes so quiet the air feels nailed down. Guo Wen stares at Lin Rui like the archive room just produced a legal siege weapon. I stand help Lin Rui up myself and tell him his blade is finally sharpened. He knows where to strike. Then I give him a new task. My idle prince's residence needs a chief clerk to manage documents and help plan. From now on, he is acting chief clerk. The Yunzhou Qingyuan plan will be supervised by him, and opening the granary for grain distribution is his first task. Tomorrow morning he takes my personal order and goes to Sun Maokai. Lin Rui bows and accepts. The man looks like someone finally opened the door to the room where his ambition had been locked for 3 years. I lean back, close my eyes, and feel the pebble in my sleeve warm from my sweat. I just wanted to retire comfortably. Why does comfort require a legal counteroffensive? That night I still do not sleep. I sit at the desk in a fox fur cloak with a rough map of Yunzhou's defenses spread out. Imperial Granary, Blackwater River, Black Wind Mountain. My charcoal pencil keeps moving because this is not just about food. Lin Rui's mission is a public test of my authority and a direct challenge to Yunzhou's old powers. If he succeeds, the situation opens. If he fails, the work relief notice becomes bait with no food behind it. The hungry people turn unstable, and I lose the right to lie flat before I even fix the bed. So I call Luo Cheng. Tomorrow, he will personally lead 20 of our most elite guards to the Imperial Granary with Director Lin. We are acting according to the law. If anyone defies the law and obstructs my order, he does not need to be polite. Luo Cheng accepts. The next morning, frost covers the bluestone outside the Imperial Granary, north of Yunzhou City. The gates are shut tight, the walls stand cold, and the street is quiet enough that every armor shift sounds heavy. Lin Rui stands at the front in a teal robe under a thick cotton jacket. Behind him, Luo Cheng wears black armor with one hand on his saber. 20 royal guards stand in 2 straight lines. This is the first blade I am driving into Yunzhou's old order, and Lin Rui is the tip. The granary officials see the formation, panic, and run inside. Soon Sun Maokai comes out. Middle-aged, sharp-faced, eyes shifting everywhere, smile oily enough to fry breakfast. He greets Lin Rui like they are old friends and tries to invite everyone in for hot tea. Lin Rui does not play along. He pulls out my order and tells him to open the granary immediately, allocate relief grain, and aid the disaster victims. Sun Maokai sees the red princely seal and twitches. Then he secretly signals a servant who slips out through the back door. Of course, summoning reinforcements. The man is not even subtle, he is just subtle by local standards. Out loud, Sun Maokai says he naturally obeys my compassion for the people. However, the Imperial Granary is vital to the court. Opening it requires a Ministry of Revenue verification document, and without the proper old rules, if anything goes wrong, his head cannot bear the responsibility. Lin Rui was ready for this. He asks whether Sun Maokai truly does not understand, or is pretending not to. My military order is here. Does he dare defy it? Sun Maokai keeps smiling and says he would never dare, but the court's laws cannot be ignored. If everyone stops following rules, would that not create chaos? Rules? Luo Cheng steps forward. His iron boot hits the bluestone with one dull sound, and Sun Maokai takes half a step back before his pride can stop him. Luo Cheng asks whether he has read the Great Xia Laws and Regulations, Military Law Chapter. Then he states the rule clearly. In a frontier emergency, the presiding prince has authority to deploy money and grain first. Has Yunzhou's 3-year drought not been an emergency? Are starving people crying for food outside the city not an emergency? Sun Maokai goes pale but still tries to wriggle. The court has not officially declared a natural disaster. No uprising has happened yet. Is Captain Luo exaggerating to force him into a mistake? Luo Cheng puts his hand on his saber. Do you want it to happen? 20 guards step forward at once, and 20 sabers slide 1 inch from their scabbards. That sound does more legal education than any lecture. Sun Maokai and the granary officials nearly collapse. Then urgent shouting comes from around the corner. Someone yells for everyone to stop, asking whether they are trying to rebel by threatening a court official in broad daylight. Han Tai has arrived. He comes panting with more than a dozen family retainers and guards. The moment he sees the standoff, his heart sinks because Sun Maokai could not even delay properly. Still, he forces a smile, pushes in, and plays peacemaker. What is happening? Let us talk. Then he turns and scolds Sun Maokai for being rude to the prince's envoy. Classic: first deny the problem, then arrive as the solution, then pretend the whole fire started because one employee used the wrong tone. Lin Rui cuts straight through it. Han Tai came at the perfect time. My military order requires the granary open for food distribution, but Sun Maokai keeps making excuses. Since Han Tai is the Zhubu in charge of money and grain, should the granary be opened or not? Han Tai's eyelids twitch. He says the prince loves the people, so of course he complies. However, opening the granary is a national matter. Procedures must be followed, and the military order has strict conditions. Without conclusive proof of an uprising, rashly invoking military law would create responsibility. Before he can finish, Guo Wen arrives. And this time, the old prefect is not wearing his usual defeated expression. He is in proper official robes, face serious, eyes clear, looking for the first time like the court-appointed Jiju of Yunzhou. He tells Han Tai that extraordinary times require extraordinary measures. The court's rules are dead, but the people of Yunzhou cannot be buried with dead rules. Then he stands beside Lin Rui and Luo Cheng and says disaster relief is every official's duty. My military order is here, the people outside the city are agitated, and the granary must be opened. If Han Tai keeps obstructing, is he openly defying the prince's command, ignoring the people, and trying to force public resentment into disaster? Han Tai's face shifts between green and white. Guo Wen has been sidelined for years, but he is still the legitimate Jiju. His stance gives this whole move official weight, and Han Tai knows the gate cannot stay closed. He glares at Sun Maokai like he wants to throw him into the grain ledger. Sun Maokai is drenched in sweat. His hands tremble as he takes out the keys and staggers to the heavy granary doors. The copper lock opens with a creak, and under the frostwhite morning sky, the 2 huge imperial granary gates slowly swing inward. The granary doors finally swing open, and Yunzhou is supposed to find 3,000 shi of relief grain. Instead, the Empire's emergency food supply gives us mold, fake numbers, and sacks packed with sand. So yes, my clean water retirement plan now begins with a corruption autopsy. Cut to the granary. The first thing that hits everyone is the smell. Stale grain, mold, old dust, and just enough rat stink to make the room personally offensive. Light slips through the narrow vents in broken strips, and the inside of the imperial granary is not the mountain of relief grain everyone was promised. It is empty in all the wrong places. Sacks sag in corners like they have given up on government service. The grain piles are sparse. Farther in, some of the rice has a blue-black layer of mold crawling over it, which is exactly the kind of visual that makes you understand why people outside are starving while officials inside are still signing clean ledgers. Lin Rui steps in first and goes straight for the account books. According to the records, at the beginning of the month the granary should still have 3,000 shi of grain. What is actually visible? Not even 1,000 shi. And that is the moment the paperwork starts sweating harder than the criminals. Sun Maokai immediately says it must be a clerical error. A clerical error? My man is standing in an empty granary with moldy rice and a room full of witnesses, and his defense is basically, the numbers got shy. Lin Rui does not even waste a full argument on him. He walks to one of the fuller sacks near the door, unties it, reaches in, and pulls out a handful of rice. The grains are yellow dull and mixed with sand, stones, and husks. Sun Maokai upgrades the excuse. Maybe it accidentally got mixed during bagging. He will have it resifted immediately. Beautiful. We have gone from clerical error to the sand entered the sack by emotional accident. Han Tai tries to step in with the performance of a man discovering corruption for the first time in his own office. He points at Sun Maokai and says Sun has disappointed him, as if this is a workplace evaluation and not disaster relief grain being replaced with construction filler. Luo Cheng is done listening. He walks straight to the deepest part of the granary, where the neatest sacks are stacked. The best-looking pile, the one staged for visitors. Then he draws his saber and slashes the lowest sack open. Sand pours out, not grain with sand. Sand? Fine yellow-brown sand spills across the floor with a little husk mixed in, kicking up dust in the dim light. The granary goes silent. Guo Wen shakes so hard with anger he cannot speak. Lin Rui turns on Sun Maokai and demands an explanation, because at this point even the excuse department has been looted. Sun Maokai drops to his knees and claims he has been framed. Luo Cheng asks the obvious question. The granary is under Sun Maokai's control. The keys are in his hands. Without his order, who could secretly replace grain with sand? No shouting needed, just the lock, the key, the sand, the whole little crime scene sitting there like it filled out its own confession form. Hantai immediately does what cowards with rank do best. He distances himself so fast he almost causes wind. He says Sun Maokai has betrayed his trust, that he himself is only guilty of oversight, and that he knew nothing. Lin Rui laughs from pure anger. Every grain entry, every grain exit, every account passed through Hantai's hands. A scam this large cannot be one granary official acting alone, unless everyone else in the office was blind, asleep, or aggressively decorative. So Lin Rui orders Sun Maokai seized. The imperial granary is sealed. The accounts and stored grain are to be guarded day and night, inventoried and catalogued without error. Then he turns to Hantai and says he will also need to return to the prince's estate to report personally. Hantai forces a calm face and agrees. Two rats caught in the same hole. Back at my main hall, I am sitting in the big fox fur-covered armchair, half dozing like the weakest invalid in Great Zia. Very peaceful, very harmless, very much the kind of man everyone keeps underestimating right before their floor disappears. Sun Maokai is held by two guards below me, limp and trembling. Hantai stands beside him with his hands hidden in his sleeves. Guo Wen is sweating, and Lin Rui steps forward with the first inspection record. The report is ugly. The Imperial Granary's reserves do not match the accounts. The deficit is at least 30%. Most of the stored grain is old, moldy, and unfit to eat. Worse, sand was being used to make up the numbers, which means someone was not only stealing relief grain, they were lying to the emperor and the court while Yunzhou's people starved. Nobody speaks. I slowly open my eyes and sigh. The court sends relief grain so desperate people can survive. In Yunzhou, that grain became a feast for rats. These officials failed the emperor above and the people below, and I ask them where their consciences went. Sun Maokai collapses fully and starts kowtowing for his life. He says he deserves 10,000 deaths, that he was momentarily confused. And yes, that is a hilarious phrase for a corruption scheme big enough to turn public grain into beach material. But I am not looking at him anymore. I look at Hantai. He oversees the granary accounts. He signs off on grain coming in and going out. So I ask him one simple question. Is he blind or is his heart black? Hantai kneels instantly. Tears, grief, outrage, full official theater package. He says he is guilty of negligence, but Sun Maokai acted alone. Sun fooled him. Sun ruined the court's life-saving grain behind his back. Sun Maokai finally snaps. He points at Hantai and starts yelling that every account was approved by him. The sand replacement was also his idea. He gets halfway into the truth before Hantai cuts him off, accuses him of slandering a superior, and begs me to punish him severely. Then Hantai makes one tiny movement. As he kowtows and rises, his sleeve slips. His fingers tap his knee 3 times. Most people would miss it. Sun Maokai does not. Those 3 taps mean 3 people. His elderly mother, his wife, and his little child. The rest of his words die in his throat. The hall stays quiet. I lift my teacup and watch him. Hantai thinks he is subtle. He thinks the threat is hidden because it came without a raised voice. But a knife does not stop being a knife because you wrap it in official silk. So I give Sun Maokai one chance. Tell the truth, and I cannot promise his life, but I can make sure his family leaves Yunzhou safely with resettlement money. Keep covering for someone else, and he will still be beheaded, but his family will remain in a city controlled by the same people he protected. Hantai stiffens. Good. He understood that I understood. Sun Maokai struggles with it. He looks at Hantai, then at me. He knows I saw through the threat, but he also knows Hantai has roots in Yunzhou, and behind Hantai stands my third brother, Prince Yang Shen Shaeyang. I am new here. I am sick. I am powerful in name, but not yet in every alley. And in the end, Sun Maokai does not trust me enough. He bows his head and takes the blame alone. He says greed tempted him. He says he secretly swapped the grain and enriched himself. He says Hantai is devoted to public service and knew nothing. Then, begging only for his family's lives, He gives up the details and hiding places of the stolen funds. Han Tai relaxes. I give the orders. Luo Cheng will retrieve the stolen money and goods, according to Sun Maokai's confession. Sun Maokai goes to the prefectural prison to await judgment. All his family property is confiscated and transferred to my treasury for disaster relief. As the guards drag him away, he keeps thanking me for not killing his family. That part lands differently. He stole from starving people, so mercy does not make him clean. But fear made him choose silence. And Yunzhou's corruption did not begin with one granary rat. It has tunnels. Then Han Tai starts confessing his negligence, and I let him live in that word. I punish him with 1 year's salary and 3 months of self-reflection, then tell him to return to his duties and not betray my trust again. He kowtows like I just gave him a second life and scrambles out of the hall. Guo Wen immediately praises my wisdom, saying I removed a menace and gained funds and grain for relief. I wave it off. Han Tai thinks he sacrificed a pawn to save the rook. Fine, the rook can stay on the board for now. I will pull that nail out later. Right now Yunzhou needs food, clean water, and enough stability that nobody has to start a riot just to drink something that does not taste like mud. My grand dream is still retirement. Unfortunately, retirement keeps demanding municipal reform first. With Sun Maokai imprisoned and Han Tai temporarily retreating, the granary pressure finally loosens. The inferior rice mixed with sand is cleared out. Aged but usable grain confiscated from corrupt officials replaces it. In front of the prince's mansion, a daily porridge tent goes up. The porridge is thin. It is not a miracle. But for refugees on the edge of collapse, one hot bowl is the difference between holding on and falling apart. The work for relief notice spreads too. People who still have strength come forward to register, because the project promises 2 meals a day while working and 10 caddies of grain after completion. Food is no longer an empty slogan. One moment, I am interrogating officials over sand-stuffed grain sacks. The next, I have to stop an entire city from drinking mud before disease finishes what hunger started. Now the Qingyuan project can begin. On a freezing morning north of Yunzhou City, I ride out wrapped in a thick black fox fur cloak, looking less like a prince and more like a pale blanket with political authority. Lin Rui follows in a blue cotton robe, clutching maps and documents with actual excitement. Luo Cheng rides behind us in black armor with 10 guards, because apparently my body cannot attend a construction meeting without military supervision. 2 li ahead lies the old course of the Blackwater River, and when we reach it, I understand the problem immediately. The river is wide but shallow, more muddy wound than waterway. The middle carries a thin yellow-brown flow. Both banks are black silt and fine quicksand. Branches, leaves, and unidentifiable trash drift across the surface. Lin Rui explains that in summer rain, the river can still run with force. But drought has reduced it to this. Anyone fetching water has to go deep into the riverbed, risking quicksand and collapse, and even then the water comes up full of mud and sand. Luo Cheng scoops up wet river sand. It trickles through his fingers and leaves sticky black mud behind. If we draw water carelessly, the banks may collapse. That is the whole problem in one handful. The water exists, but it is dangerous to reach, filthy to drink, and unstable to move. If Yunzhou keeps living like this, disease will finish what hunger started. I dismount with very little dignity and tell Lin Rui to take me to the craftsman. Upstream, at a slightly higher spot away from the quicksand, more than a dozen old stonemasons, carpenters, and well-diggers wait around a fire. They are nervous because the new idol prince has already opened the granary and arrested a corrupt official, which is a great first impression if your hobby is frightening every civil servant in the county. I stop them from kneeling, have more fires lit, and order ginger tea brought over. Cold hands do not build clever things. Then Lin Rui unrolls my blueprint. The craftsmen crowd in and stare at the drawing. Big pools, smaller pools, lines like buried pipes, structures nobody here has used before. The old stonemason asks what the square pools are for. An old carpenter asks why we do not simply lead the river water directly into the city. Fair questions, so I explain the first step, sedimentation. Blackwater River water is full of mud and sand. If we drink it directly, we might as well be drinking slow poison. First, we laid it into a large sedimentation tank. The water slows down. Heavy mud, sand, and stones sink to the bottom. The water that leaves that tank is already clearer. The old stonemason catches on. It is like leaving turbid water alone until the dirt settles. Exactly. Then comes the second step, sand filtration. The clearer water flows through more pools layered with pebbles, gravel, coarse sand, and fine sand. As the water passes through the gaps, smaller particles get trapped. One old well digger understands it fastest. Well water is clearer because it filters through earth and stone underground. My system just forces the same principle to happen in a controlled path. That is when the craftsmen start nodding. Not worshipping yet, just nodding. We love a room that moves from what nonsense is this to annoyingly this might work. I keep the third step hidden for now and say it will make the water as sweet and clear as mountain spring water. That gets their attention because apparently, trust me, the dirty river becomes drinkable, is a bold pitch when everyone can currently see the dirty river. Then we hit the second problem, getting the purified water into Yunzhou City 7 li away. An open canal sounds simple, but it would lose water to seepage and evaporation. Wind, sand, leaves, animal filth, and sabotage could ruin the water before it reaches anyone. The Blackwater River carries so much mud that an exposed channel could clog quickly. So my idea is underground pipes. The craftsmen immediately find the weak point. Clay pipes are fragile. 7 li of buried pipe means countless sections, countless joints, and a future maintenance nightmare if anything breaks underground. They are right, painfully right. This is why experienced craftsmen are valuable. They do not clap because the prince brought a drawing. They look directly at the part that will fail and ask how many men will have to dig it up in winter. I tell them we can support the pipes with sand and soil cushions and pack crushed stone around them. But the real answer is better material. Yunzhou has stone, Yunzhou has clay. With enough hands and the right method, we can make what we need ourselves. The old stonemason points out the scale. These pools and a 7 li underground pipeline will require massive manpower and materials. Luckily, manpower is the one thing a disaster zone has when you give people food instead of speeches. The work for relief teams can dig, carry, ram, and build. The craftsmen will design the details. Lin Rui will coordinate everything. I tell him safety first, quality foremost, and I want the blueprint turned real as quickly as possible. Translation: congratulations, Director Lin, you are now the entire infrastructure department. Over the next 10-odd days, the Blackwater Riverbank becomes a construction site. Thousands of disaster victims are divided into teams. Some dig earth and stone. Some carry materials. Others build foundations under the craftsman's direction. Luo Cheng's guards patrol day and night to maintain order and prevent accidents. 2 hot meals of porridge arrive on time every day, and that alone turns exhausted refugees into people with enough strength to swing tools again. Lin Rui practically lives at the site. He eats there, sleeps there, and solves problems the moment they appear. The craftsmen and laborers start respecting him because he is not standing around giving elegant orders from a clean sleeve. He is in the dirt with them. I meanwhile stay mostly in the prince's mansion, receiving reports like a responsible manager with fragile lungs. Sometimes I visit, point at the blueprint, untangle a technical dispute, and then return before the wind can personally assassinate me. This is called leadership. 10-odd days later, the first huge sedimentation tank, 3 smaller sand filter tanks, and the diversion canal finally take shape on the Blackwater Riverbank. I come to inspect it, and for once I am genuinely satisfied. The old stonemason is excited, but he still has one question. The tanks are ready. The sand filters are ready. What is the third divine object that will make the water sweet and clear? I ask them what leftover black coals from a stove are good for. The craftsmen look at me like I have changed the meeting topic to kitchen trash. They say black coals are dirty, not especially useful, and hard to light if damp. Ordinary black coals, yes, but if wood is burned at high heat without air, then crushed and repeatedly rinsed clean, it becomes a special carbon powder. I call it activated carbon. Blank faces all around, so I explain it simply. Activated carbon has countless tiny pores too small to see. When water flows through those pores, odors, colors, and some fine impurities are absorbed. The result should be clearer, cleaner water, with the muddy smell removed. To them, this sounds like I am asking burned wood to perform sorcery on a river. Honestly fair, Lin Rui brings the batch I had made in advance. Guards carry over baskets filled with shiny black, uniform charcoal granules. We lay the activated carbon into a small trough at the outlet of the final sand filter tank. Then I order the gate opened. Muddy Blackwater River water surges into the sedimentation tank. It slows, heavy dirt settles. The overflow enters the 3 sand filter tanks in sequence. Everyone holds their breath as the water reaches the last trough. It passes through the activated carbon. Then it flows out clear. Not slightly less disgusting, not good enough if you close your eyes, clear. A bowl fills from the outlet, and there is no visible impurity, no muddy smell, only a faint fresh scent. The old stonemason takes the bowl with trembling hands. He sniffs it, drinks, then he starts crying. He says it is sweet, the cleanest water he has ever tasted, a true divine object. The craftsmen and laborers around him erupt. Some kneels, some kowtow. People start calling it divine water bestowed by the prince. For a moment, I do not joke. These people are not amazed because the science is difficult. They are amazed because clean water has become rare enough to feel impossible. A bowl of water should not make grown men cry, but Yunzhou has been forced to live beneath that line for too long. I tell them to rise. This is the work of heaven and earth, not mine alone. With activated carbon, the people of Yunzhou will no longer have to drink muddy soup. Then I ruin the victory lap by mentioning the next problem. The purification pond works, but Yunzhou City is still 7 li away. We need strong, durable pipes. Clay pipes can work, but they break easily and leak at the joints. If we want a permanent solution, we need a better material. I point to the limestone hills and the clay along the riverbank. Limestone, clays, a little iron powder. Fire them at high heat in the right proportion, and they become a gray-blue powder. Mix that powder with water and it turns into slurry. Once it solidifies, it becomes harder than brick and stone. Does not dissolve in water, resists fire, and can be used for pipes, dams, city walls, and flat roads. I call it cement. The craftsmen stare at me like I have just casually announced that dirt has a final form. And to be fair, from their perspective, I absolutely have. A few days earlier, I had already set up a divine mud research base in the rear courtyard of the prince's estate. Bricklayers, stonemasons, kiln masters, and even retired soldiers who knew a little smelting were gathered there. Crooked earthen kilns smoked all day, the smell was awful, and the servants avoided that courtyard like it had developed a personality. Luo Cheng patrolled past more than once, clearly wondering what disaster-shaped invention his prince was cooking now. I sat there wrapped in fox fur, coughing in a grand tutor's chair while Lin Rui, covered in sweat and soot, directed craftsmen to mix crushed limestone and yellow-brown clay. The fifth batch failed, not mildly failed. Some of it was slag. Some of it did not solidify at all. Some came out acting like the same stones and mud we had put in, which is not innovation, that is just reheated disappointment. Lin Rui looked like a man personally betrayed by geology. The craftsmen started whispering that mud is mud, stone is stone, and maybe the prince had gone down the wrong road. And I could not even fully blame them. In my past life, I had watched documentaries and read popular science. That gave me the idea, not the exact factory manual. Cement needs the right temperature, the right proportions, the right fineness, and steady firing. My theoretical knowledge was standing in front of ancient kiln practice wearing a fake mustache. So I complained about proportions. Limestone 70%, clay 30%. Forget the iron powder for now, because that variable was too hard to control. I also pointed out that their kilns leaked heat. The temperature could not rise, and adding more firewood to a bad kiln is like yelling at a broken stove and calling it strategy. The old stonemason finally says, carefully, that he has worked with stone his whole life and has never heard of mud becoming something harder than stone. Maybe my method is wrong. The other craftsmen start leaning the same way. I force myself upright and change the approach. No more blind attempts. Record the amount of limestone and clay every time. Record firing time. Record heat intensity. Change only one condition per batch, then compare the result. I call it investigating things to gain knowledge. The craftsmen do not look convinced, but they agree because I am still the prince and apparently the local sick man with a notebook can make their lives complicated. Then a voice comes from outside the crowd. The stranger says changing only one condition at a time has the flavor of the Mohis school's method. Observing causes to understand principles. But the kiln itself is too crude. The airflow is poor, the form is wrong, and even if the proportions are correct, it will be difficult to gather enough heat. Everyone turns. A young man about 25 or 26 stands at the edge of the courtyard. He wears a worn short brown tunic, carries a heavy satchel, and small bronze tools hang from it in strange shapes. He looks travel-stained and ordinary until you see his eyes locked onto the kilns and waste slag like he has found treasure inside a crime scene. His hands are covered with calluses and little scars. This is not a scholar pretending to admire craftsmanship. This is a craftsman whose hands have paid tuition. Lin Rui steps in front of me and asks who he is and why he trespassed into a restricted area of the prince's estate. The man answers calmly. His name is Fang Jingheng, a wandering craftsman with no fixed home. He heard rumors in Yunzhou's market that someone could purify water with sand and create divine objects from mud, so he came to investigate. Outside the estate, he heard metal striking stone and saw smoke rising, guessed we were testing the divine mud, and came in uninvited because he wanted to try his hand. Sir, that is trespassing, but also that is exactly the kind of trespassing that makes my eyes light up. Fang Jingheng, a wandering craftsman, mohist flavor, obsessive eyes, tools on his body. At this point, if the heavens are sending me technical support, I am not filing a complaint about the delivery method. I tell Lin Rui to step back and ask Fang Jingheng whether he comes from the mohist school, and whether he understands firing earth and stone or construction. He does not waste time flattering me. He squats, picks up waste slag, smells it, grinds it between his fingers, checks the kiln mouth, the air inlet, the flue, and the fuel. Then he gives the diagnosis. The idea of divine mud is unheard of and brilliant. But our kiln is bad. The air inlet is too small and wrongly placed, so strong airflow cannot form. The flue is short and straight, so heat escapes too fast. Ordinary firewood burns fiercely but briefly, so it cannot maintain calcination temperature long enough. Ladies and gentlemen, we have found the adult in the room. I call him sir without even pretending to be casual and ask for a solution. Fang Jingheng pulls out a smooth stone slab and a charcoal stick, sits right there on the ground and begins drawing. To raise the kiln temperature, we can imitate an iron smelting blast furnace. Change the straight-shaft kiln into a downdraft kiln. Add a separate firebox and ash pit. Let the flames circulate for fuller combustion. Raise the chimney to increase draft. If we can find coal in the mountains, even better because coal burns hotter than firewood. In moments, he sketches a cleaner kiln design with precise lines and balanced proportions. I am delighted. Then I remember something and pull a crumpled parchment from my robe. It is a rough blast furnace diagram I drew earlier from memory for future iron smelting. Air inlet, tap hole, charging port, forced air with blowing equipment, layered charging. The handwriting is crooked, because apparently I can revolutionize smelting but not write like a normal aristocrat. I hand it to him and ask whether the same principles could apply to firing divine mud. At first, Fang Jingheng looks casual. Then he sees the blast-assisted combustion. Then the layered charging. Then the idea of continuous tapping. His hand tightens on the parchment. His eyes go from confusion to shock to something dangerously close to religious devotion. He calls it a blast furnace, says using blast power to concentrate high heat is brilliant, that layered charging and continuous tapping are groundbreaking, and that if this can be built, it will not merely help fire divine mud. It could change casting and smelting across the entire world. Then he stands and bows 90 degrees to me. Full respect, full sincerity, full I have seen the future, and it is drawn badly on a wrinkled sheet. I nearly panic. I help him up and say these are only immature ancestral ideas, nothing worth such a grand gesture. Very humble, very princely, very much not the truth in my head. Because inside I am screaming. I casually sketched a furnace to see whether it could inspire a kiln, and this mohist craftsman is looking at me like I just handed him the secret key to civilization. All I wanted was clean water, stable pipes, and a quiet retirement. Now I have a granary full of sand, a city calling charcoal divine, and a wandering craftsman ready to turn my messy notes into an industrial revolution. My terrible furnace sketch does not just make Fang Jingheng swear loyalty. It leads to cement, public faucets, a city calling me a miracle, and one very tired Lin Rui walking up a bandit mountain with a flag that literally says talk. I came to Yunzhou for peace. Yunzhou gave me stone, mud, hungry people, and a security problem with 200 to 300 blades. It begins with Fang Jingheng looking at my furnace sketch, like I just handed him the holy scripture of construction. Before I can shove the parchment back into my robe, he is already asking to stay, help me perfect divine mud, and use it to benefit the people. This is a beautiful offer. It is also terrifying, because every time I try to make my life easier, heaven sends me another overachiever who hears comfortable retirement and translates it into lifelong public service until death. Still, I help him up and accept. From now on, Yunzhou's construction depends heavily on Fang Jingheng's talent, and his first job is simple: make this divine mud real. Simple, he says: forced ventilation, layered raw materials, continuous high-temperature calcination, precise proportions. He points between my blast furnace sketch and his kiln design, talking faster and faster, already seeing the finished product in his head. Meanwhile, I am watching a technical fanatic boot up in real time. Over the next few days, the prince's estate backyard becomes louder, smokier, and dramatically less peaceful. Fang designs a new experimental kiln using parts of my blast furnace idea. The discouraged craftsmen regain their fighting spirit. Everyone starts following my controlled variable method. Adjust the limestone and clay ratios, record the firing time, record the heat, record what comes out. No more tossing rocks into fire and praying. We are doing science now. Very dusty, very smoky science, but science. At dusk on the 5th day, the new kiln finally cools enough to open. A sulfur-heavy wave of heat rolls out, and everyone holds their breath while Fang uses long-handled iron tongs to pull a gray-green sinter from deep inside the kiln. This is not the old waste slag. The texture is uniform, the color is clean. It even has a faint metallic sheen, like the kiln finally stopped embarrassing me in front of the staff. After it cools for about half an hour, Fang has it crushed, then ground again and again with a fine stone mill until it becomes powder as fine as flour. The gray-green powder is poured into a clay basin. I personally add clear water in the remembered proportion and stir it with a wooden stick. Everyone goes silent. The powder does not dissolve like mud. It turns into a thick, smooth paste. Fang takes 2 broken stone slabs from earlier tests, spreads the paste evenly across one broken surface, aligns the other slab, presses them together, and leaves them to dry. Several hours later, he lifts the joined slab. The break is bonded. He shakes it. It holds. He tries harder. It still holds. The old stonemason nearly loses his entire soul on the spot. He says it worked, that it is stronger than glutinous rice paste and clay, that if it can bond stone like this, houses and city walls could become solid as gold. The craftsmen explode. They crowd around the slab and the paste, cheering like they just watched Earth learn a new profession. Divine mud, divine craft, divine person, divine this, divine that. Everybody is one successful bonding test away from founding a small religion. For the first time, Fang Jingheng is quiet. He stares at the stone slab, then at the new kiln, then at me. Cut briefly into his head, and this is not just a successful test. It is a worldview collapse. He has seen nobles treat craftsmen like furniture and artisans hide techniques like family treasure. But here, a sick prince is sharing furnace blueprints, recording failures, refining proportions, and treating skill as something meant to help people. To him, Yunzhou suddenly looks like the old Mohist ideals breathing again. Practical methods, worthy talent, no hoarding, no empty mystery. Just a smoky courtyard, a strange prince, and a city that needs better tools before it falls apart. Then Fang walks forward and performs the formal Mohist disciple ceremony, kneeling with his forehead to the ground. He says, "My mind is vast. My will benefits all living beings. The divine mud technique will help this generation and earn merit for 1,000 autumns. And he is willing to serve me as master, dedicate his life's learning, and never shrink from death." I freeze. "Sir, I wanted pipes. I did not order a lifetime oath with the premium devotion package." Out loud, I tell him to get up, that this courtesy is too heavy and I cannot bear it. Inside, I am screaming because I only wanted clean water, better building materials, and a bath that does not feel like a punishment. Somehow I have acquired another man who volunteers for suffering like it is a paid promotion. But I look at the cement paste, the craftsmen's faces, and the hope in that smoke-filled yard, and I have to admit something annoying. Occasional hard work might not be completely unacceptable. So I officially name the gray-green powder cement, water and earth solidifying into a city. I say I hope it binds Yunzhou, and one day all of Great Xia, into something firmer and more prosperous. The setting sun falls through the smoke onto the fresh cement and the excited faces around it. Very dramatic, very inspirational, extremely bad for my retirement brand. The arrival of cement accelerates the entire water pipeline. Fang leads the craftsmen day and night, making cylindrical molds that fit together, pouring the carefully mixed mortar, letting it set, then demolding section after section of gray-blue pipe. Compared with clay pipes, these cement pipes are sturdier, smoother inside, and easier to seal at the joints. Lin Rui personally leads the laying work. The pipes are buried deep, connected section by section, and sealed with cement so not a single drop leaks away. 7 li, that is how far the clear water has to travel from the Blackwater River into Yunzhou City. For the thousands of disaster victims in the Work for Relief program, that 7-li pipeline becomes another battlefield. Shovels scrape frozen earth, tampers thud, men shout across the barren land. 2 hot bowls of porridge a day keep bodies moving, and every buried pipe brings the city one step closer to drinking water that will not make children sick. At last, the final pipe connects to the outlet of the purification pond. Blackwater River water passes through sedimentation, sand filtration, and activated carbon, then begins flowing through the buried artery toward the city. Cut to the east side of Yunzhou just before dawn. An old woman comes to the new public water point carrying a chipped earthen pot. Her little grandson follows, face red from cold, quietly sniffling. Usually, they would be waiting at a nearly dry well for half a ladle of muddy water, or walking several li to a dangerous downstream shallows. That water gave people stomachaches, and last winter the boy almost did not survive because of it. A sign from the prince's estate says clean water will arrive today. The old woman does not really believe it. How could she? She knows the Blackwater River. She has seen that muddy soup with her own eyes. Even if the prince has tricks, turning that into clear water sounds like a story told by people who want hope more than truth. Then she reaches the water point. Several bronze dragon heads stand on the once empty ground, guarded by young men from the prince's estate. One guard smiles and tells her the thing is called a faucet. Twist gently and water comes out. She reaches out with a shaking hand and turns the bronze valve. Clear water rushes from the dragon's mouth into her pot. No mud, no grit, no smell, just transparent water, splashing in the cold dawn with a faint fresh scent like grass after rain. She drinks, the boy cups some in his hands and cries that it is sweet. The old woman kneels and kowtows toward the prince's estate, calling it divine mud water and calling me a living bodhisattva. More common people rush over. They taste it themselves, and the cheers nearly tear open the morning sky. Children run between the faucets with little buckets, laughing as water splashes over the ground. For Yunzhou, this is not a convenience. This is the city remembering what normal life is supposed to feel like. By afternoon, the tea houses have completely lost control of the narrative. At Faiyuan Tea House, the storyteller is already claiming the idle prince dreamed of a divine being who gave him a heavenly book, allowing him to turn stones into gold and create divine mud. Someone calls me a wise prince. Someone else says I am a literary star descended to earth. Another old man swears that Fang Jingheng only made cement because I drew a few lines on paper, and that no mortal could have such methods. And just like that, my public image upgrades from sick, pitiful border prince to suspiciously immortal infrastructure specialist. Great, now even my laziness is going to need a mythological explanation. Of course, once cement exists, I do not forget my true sacred mission: improving my own quality of life. The prince's estate is still drafty, dusty, and full of old inconvenience, so I have Fang bring craftsmen to renovate my small courtyard first. Gravel and coarse sand go down, then a thick cement layer, smoothed flat with wooden boards. The old dirt ground that turned muddy in rain and dusty in sun becomes a clean, durable surface. The walls are replastered with fine mud mixed with cement until they are white and smooth. The roof lakes are sealed. Most importantly, my cement bathtub takes shape. Spacious, smooth, built into the corner, inlet and outlet pipes reserved. Designed by me personally with the seriousness other princes reserve for military campaigns. Finally, after all the corruption, smoke, mud, and civic suffering, I lie in my new courtyard, soaking in hot water with only my head above the surface. Xiao Ning has placed pastries and hot tea nearby. Steam rises, the floor is clean, the walls do not shed dust onto my soul. I take one sip of tea and look at the square patch of sky above the courtyard. This is life. For this moment, all the trouble was almost worth it. Naturally, happiness lasts about as long as a government budget surplus. Lin Rui appears beside the bathtub, carrying a stack of paper rolls nearly taller than himself. Project progress, material allocations, population counts, income and expense tables, regulations, follow-up plans. The entire administrative avalanche has arrived wearing a tired face. I open one eye and ask what it is now. Did I not say not to bother me with small matters? If the sky falls, let Luo Cheng hold it up. If Luo Cheng cannot, let Fang Jingheng invent something load-bearing. Lin Rui looks like a man one report away from spiritual collapse. He says Yunzhou's affairs are showing results, but the coordination, regulations, long-term planning, official assessment, and supervision are beyond his ability. He asks me to find a truly talented person with virtue and skill to serve as chief clerk, manage the overall situation, and create strategy. Translation: Your Highness, please hire an adult before I become a historical footnote. And he is right. If Lin Rui collapses, my entire retirement pipeline collapses with him. So I think of a name Guo Wen has mentioned more than once. Su Wenheng, courtesy name Xiaodao. Former Yunzhou County magistrate, a Jinshi from the 15th year of Jingyuan. Learned, upright, and exiled here after impeaching powerful nobles in the capital. Later he refused to collude with Han Tai's faction, resigned in anger, and retired to Wanyu village 30 li outside Yunzhou city. Now he teaches a few village children and calls himself the Eastern Hedge Hermit. In other words, talented, principled, idle, and probably extremely depressed. Perfect. What does a frustrated scholar want most? Recognition and a platform to do the thing he was never allowed to do. So I get out of the bathtub, throw on a robe, and tell Lin Rui to prepare the carriage. For my peaceful future, I will personally invite this man out of seclusion. Yes, I am going outside again. This is how serious the crisis is. At Wanyu village, I stop the carriage a li away. I change into a half-worn blue steward's robe, carry a plain bamboo folding fan like a refined scholar, and bring only Lin Rui with me. Luo Cheng and the guards stay far back, so we do not stomp into a recluse's hut looking like a tax raid. The thatched cottage sits beside a bamboo grove, quiet and poor. Lin Rui knocks 3 times. A middle-aged scholar opens the gate in a washed-out Confucian robe worn thin at the elbows, holding an old book. His face is lean, his beard neat, his eyes calm but guarded. That is Su Wenheng. I bow and say I came in admiration to visit the Eastern Hedge Hermit. He is wary, but he is still a scholar. If someone comes respectfully asking for guidance, he cannot slam the gate in their face without morally losing to his own bookshelf. So he invites us in for coarse tea. The hut is simple, books fill the walls, the desk is old, the stools are bamboo. The tea is bitter enough to make my soul apologize to my tongue. Su Wenheng asks my name and what I want. I set down the bowl, stand, bow again, and reveal myself. Shen Qing'an, 7th Prince of Great Xia, newly enfeoffed in Yunzhou, here as a junior seeking guidance. His hand trembles hard enough that the hot tea almost spills. He tries to perform subject etiquette, but I stop him. Today I am here as a junior scholar, not as a prince forcing a retired official to kneel in his own house. Then I ask him 3 questions. First, he once spoke for justice in the capital and angered powerful nobles. Has the ambition in his heart truly gone cold? Has the desire to establish a heart for heaven and earth, secure a destiny for the people, continue the teachings of the sages, and create peace for future generations really turned to ash? That one hits him. Second, he has seen Yunzhou's suffering and rotten officials. I now want to reclaim wasteland, build water conservancy, improve farm tools, fire cement, establish workshops, and turn this barren frontier into a livable land. If he saw a field abandoned to weeds, would he stand aside, or would he personally clear it and bring it back to life? That one hits harder. Third, I mention his books. His precious collection is probably suffering from dampness and insects in this cottage. My estate now has a renovated study, dry, bright, ventilated, with a cement floor and moisture protection. Also, my cook has learned some Jiangnan dishes. If he moves there, his books survive better, his meals improve, and he gets light wine and coarse tea. Lin Rui almost laughs. Look, ambition is important, but never underestimate the political power of dry books and edible food. Su Wenheng sits in silence for a long time. The fire crackles, wind moves through the bamboo outside. He thinks of the capital, his demotion, the officials who blocked him, the poverty he has watched for years, and the spark in his heart that never truly died. If I am lying, he loses little. If I am real, Yunzhou might finally get a chance. So he agrees to serve. But he gives 3 conditions. First, if he manages government affairs, I must trust him fully and not change course midway because of slander. Yunzhou cannot become my toy for strange tricks. All policies must benefit the people and last long term. I agree immediately, because yes, absolutely wise governance, noble purpose, and also I do not want to manage any of it myself. Second, he will appoint by talent, not background. Anyone useless, corrupt, or lawless must be punished no matter who stands behind them. I agree even faster. If there is 1 parasite, catch 1. If there are 2, catch a pair. From now on, all the dirty work of offending people comes with Su Wenheng's signature. We love delegation with moral clarity. Third, if he disagrees with me on government affairs, he will speak frankly, even contradict me. And I must not block advice by hiding behind royal status. Lin Rui gets nervous. I laugh, help Su Wenheng up, and say that is exactly what I want. I appoint him Chief Administrator of Internal Affairs for Yunzhou, and entrust the future of Yunzhou and its people to him. Su Wenheng's blood is on fire. He looks ready to work himself into history. I immediately start talking about vegetable gardens, grape trellises, and revising the hot spring pool blueprint. His expression says he may have agreed too quickly. The news that Su Wenheng has come out of seclusion shakes Yunzhou's tiny scholar circle. Everyone knows his temper. He is the kind of stubborn rock who resigned rather than bend. Nobody understands how the sickly idle prince dragged him out of retirement. Meanwhile, Su Wenheng arrives at the prince's estate at dawn, having slept exactly 0 hours because he spent the night organizing a 10,000-word plan for administration, agriculture, household registration, and law. He is ready to report to his enlightened lord. Then Xiao Ning leads him into the backyard. There, Lin Rui is sweating over a new cement platform, craftsmen are moving around, Fang Jingheng is arguing with me, and I am squatting on the ground with charcoal smudges on my face, holding a pencil in one hand and dirt in the other, fighting with a black metal contraption. The topic, an energy-saving stove. I tell Fang the air duct is too low, that hot air rises, cold air needs to enter below to create convection, and this is called the second law of thermodynamics. Fang argues that if the duct is too high, bottom fuel will not burn completely. I tell him to add 2 ducts, 1 main intake, 1 auxiliary intake plus an adjustable baffle. Variable intake grill. Su Wenheng just stands there. His 10,000-word government reform speech dies quietly in his throat. Thermodynamics, variable intake grill. This man studied sage books his entire life and accidentally walked into a furnace design meeting from another dimension. He coughs twice to announce himself. I finally notice him stand up, brush dirt off my hands, and tell him he arrived at the perfect time. Fang and I are developing a stove that saves firewood in winter, and he can help take a look. Su Wenheng politely suppresses the urge to throw his entire reform draft into the stove, and says he came to discuss Yunzhou's governance. Governance? Did I not leave that to him? He panics slightly and explains that appointments, dismissals, audits, finances, and division of powers are major affairs. Without my decisions, he does not dare act alone. So I give him 3 KPIs. First, personnel. Within 1 month, root out the freeloaders and schemers in the prefectural government. Establish a transparent performance appraisal system based on ability, not connections. Promote the capable, demote the incompetent. Second, finance. Dig out the account books from the past 3 years and check them line by line. Recover all deficits. From now on, every expenditure from the prince's estate needs his approval, and every coin must have a clear trail. Third, system. Standardize everything we are doing in Yunzhou, from water purification and cement firing to work for relief, into procedures and regulations. Whoever comes later must follow the process. I refuse to solve the same problem twice with my own brain. Su Wenheng looks dazed, like I just invented bureaucracy with sharper teeth. But he understands the core. Personnel money system. That is Yunzhou's rotten spine, and I just handed him a knife. Then I remember one more task. I draw a curved shaft plow on a wooden board. Compared with the heavy straight shaft plows people use now, this one has a curved shaft, a more compact plowshare and adjustable parts. It uses leverage and mechanical structure, so farmers can plow deeper and faster with less effort. Fang will make the sample. Su Wenheng will hand it to Lin Rui for mass production. Before spring, I want every self-cultivating farmer in Yunzhou using it. Su Wenheng stares at the drawing and nearly ascends on the spot. He says this is a tool that can govern the world and benefit the country and people. If popularized, Yunzhou's grain output may double. Wonderful, he gets it. Now the next problem, Black Wind Mountain. Good farm tools mean nothing if farmers cannot farm peacefully. Black Wind Mountain's bandits must be handled. Su Wenheng asks whether that is a military matter for Luo Cheng. I explain the split. Luo Cheng handles execution, Su coordinates the plan. First, find out why the bandits became bandits. If they are starving disaster victims or men who could not survive, we talk. We offer amnesty. We turn them into laborers for roads and mining. This is non-performing asset restructuring. If they are true killers, Luo Cheng acts once and for all. Within 1 month, I want the Black Wind Mountain problem resolved. Then I wave him away because I need to research my new bathtub. The outlet design still feels unscientific. Su Wenheng leaves holding the curved shaft plow drawing, his head full of KPIs, performance appraisals, standard processes, and non-performing asset restructuring. He looks back at me still arguing over the stove and realizes something. I am not interested in governing the world in the normal way. My genius ideas keep coming from very simple desires. Better food, warmer rooms, cleaner baths, fewer interruptions. Somehow that might be exactly why they work. He goes straight to the prefectural yamen and holds his first meeting. Cut to Yunzhou's government office. On his first day in office, Su Wenheng gathers every official still breathing and announces the KPI assessment system. From now on, Yunzhou officialdom will not tolerate idlers. Responsibilities, tasks, and deadlines are written clearly. Miss small tasks lose salary. Fail major ones lose the position. The hall erupts. The old hands who spent years coasting suddenly look like winter arrived inside their clothes. Su Wenheng then lists Black Wind Mountain as the highest priority project and appoints Lin Rui as executor. 3 days later, Lin Rui stands at the foot of Black Wind Mountain in an ill-fitting fur coat, staring up at the dangerous path. Behind him are Luo Cheng and 10 elite prince's estate guards, all dressed as hunters, though their soldiers' killing intent is about as hidden as a drawn saber under a napkin. Intelligence says Black Wind Mountain has 200 to 300 bandits. Many are deserters and disaster victims who became outlaws because they could not survive. A direct attack might win, but it would also create heavy losses and push the wavering ones into the enemy camp. So Su Wenheng chooses courtesy before force, which means Lin Rui, the newly appointed acting Changshi, gets the glorious job of walking up the mountain alone with a tiny white flag that has one large character written on it. Talk. I am not there, but I can feel his soul filing a complaint. Luo Cheng asks if he is sure. These are desperate men who kill without blinking. My intention was coordination, not heroic suicide. Lin Rui says this is Su Wenheng's order and also my methodology. Reduce communication costs and clarify the other party's core demands. War is the last resort and the most expensive solution. Problems that can be solved with words should not be solved with knives. Luo Cheng does not fully understand the management vocabulary, but he understands danger. He offers 2 disguised guards as attendants. Lin Rui refuses. Going alone shows sincerity. If he does not return safely within the time it takes 1 stick of incense to burn, or if a horn sounds from the mountain, then Luo Cheng can act. Then Lin Rui straightens his clothes, sticks the ridiculous little talk flag behind him, and climbs the only path toward the stronghold. A hidden sentry shouts from halfway up the mountain. State your name, take another step, and the arrows will be blind. Lin Rui stops, clears his dry throat, and announces himself as acting Changshi of the Idle Prince Manor, sent by His Royal Highness to meet the great chieftain of Black Wind Mountain. He comes alone with no ill will, to discuss a business deal concerning the lives and fortunes of everyone present. There is a pause, because apparently even bandits need a second to process a civil official opening negotiations, like a merchant consultant. Then a basket lowers from the mountain. Lin Rui steps in, the basket rises, and his heart rises with it. The gathering hall of Black Wind Mountain is really a large cave reinforced with rocks and rotten wood. Bonfires burn inside, mixing smoke with sweat and weapon oil. Dozens of ragged bandits stare at Lin Rui with blades in hand and suspicion in their eyes. On the main seat sits a burly, one-eyed man with a full beard. This is Duan Huai, great chieftain of Black Wind Mountain. He was once a squad leader on the northern frontier, but after offending a superior, he fled with a few brothers and eventually gathered deserters and disaster victims around him. He asks whether Lin Rui is the Changshi of the Idle Prince Manor. A beardless boy dares come alone. What does the prince want to say by sending him to die? Lin Rui bows without lowering himself too far. He says he is not here on behalf of the usual government office, but in the prince's personal capacity to discuss business with Duan Hua and everyone on the mountain. The bandits laugh. Then Lin Rui unrolls the scroll. He says His Royal Highness knows many of them became bandits only because they could not survive. Now he is willing to give them a chance to turn over a new leaf. If Black Wind Mountain stops raiding, the prince's estate will provide 2 full meals of hot porridge every day at a fixed point below the mountain for every man on the mountain. The laughter stops. Food is a very persuasive argument when your audience is hungry. Then he continues. The prince's estate is expanding waterworks and quarrying stone. Anyone willing to come down can sign up voluntarily. They will receive food while working, grain, and resettlement fees after the project, and their past will be let go. Their household registrations will be restored, and they will become official citizens of Yunzhou again. The cave stirs. That is not just food. That is a life. Lin Rui also gives the warning. If they do not believe it, they can stay on the mountain for now, as long as they do not descend to harass the people. But the Blackwater riverbanks are now vital workshop territory. No one approaches without permission. Anyone who does will be killed without mercy. Duan Huai does not trust it. Give food, give work, restore household registrations. Where under heaven is there such a good thing? He suspects a trap. Lin Rui tells him to send people into Yunzhou City and ask whether the prince has opened the granaries, and whether work for relief is truly happening. Then he says he only brings 3 messages. The choice belongs to the mountain. A scar-faced bandit whispers that they should not trust officials and should tie Lin Rui up to demand ransom from the idle prince. Duan Huai ignores him. The fact that we sent one civil official up the mountain tells him we are either insane or confident, and in Yunzhou lately, both are looking possible. He asks why he should believe I am not playing tricks. Lin Rui smiles and gives him my real argument. His Royal Highness hates trouble. Killing all of them is the most troublesome solution. Feeding them and making them work is more cost-effective. This is called maximizing benefits. Duan Huai repeats the phrase like it tastes strange. Maximizing benefits. Then he stands, paces, and finally agrees to believe it for now. He can restrain the men from going down the mountain, but he wants to meet someone who can truly decide to see whether this is a trick. Lin Rui tells him Luo Cheng is at the foot of the mountain and can represent me in negotiations. When Lin Rui returns safely and Duan Huai comes down with only a few trusted men, Luo Cheng looks at the one-eyed bandit chief and recognizes something familiar. A frontier soldier's suspicion, struggle, and hunger for a way out. For the first time, Luo Cheng truly understands what I meant by solving problems with words. Maybe this is what it means to subdue the enemy without fighting. Black Wind Mountain does not fall to sabers first. It starts falling when Luo Cheng proves my offer has food behind it, because starving men do not trust speeches, but they understand meat, salt, and a way out. At the foot of Black Wind Mountain, Luo Cheng and Duan Huai finally face each other properly. On one side, Luo Cheng stands with 10 prince's estate guards, straight-backed, black armor cold under the pale winter light, sabers neat at their waists. On the other side, Duan Huai has 7 or 8 trusted men in torn clothes, carrying whatever weapons life left them. Rusted sabers, broad axes, even pitchforks. They look rough, hungry, and cornered. That matters more than the weapons. Duan Huai fixes his one eye on Luo Cheng and asks whether he is the man who can make decisions. Luo Cheng does not give a speech. He pulls out a piece of dried meat wrapped in oil paper and tosses it over. 5-spice beef jerky made in the prince's estate kitchen. Just try it. Duan Huai catches it. The meat is still slightly warm. The moment he opens the paper, the smell of meat and spice hits the bandits behind him, and several men swallow before they can stop themselves. He tears off a piece, tastes it, then shares the rest with his brothers. That little strip of meat says more than any official document could. It says the prince's estate has food. It says the offer is not empty. And for men living on thin gruel and stolen scraps, food is the first proof of power. Duan Huai tells Luo Cheng to speak plainly. He does not want recruitment into government service. He has no interest in being humiliated as a surrendered bandit. Luo Cheng says my estate does not like that phrase either. It sounds like charity. Then he repeats the wording I taught him. This is merger and reorganization. Duan Huai stares at him. Fair? If someone said that to me on a mountain path with sabers in the wind, I would also need a moment. Luo Cheng explains it without dressing it up. Black Wind Mountain has something Yunzhou needs, people. Yunzhou has something Black Wind Mountain needs, a livelihood. The entire group can join the Yunzhou construction plan as the Yunzhou Engineering Corps, responsible for mining, roads, waterworks, and construction security. Duan Huai will remain their leader as commander of the Engineering Corps, reporting to Luo Cheng. The men do not get disarmed and scattered. They get rules, food, equipment, pay, and a way to earn merit. But Luo Cheng is just as clear about the blade behind the offer. Once they join, robbery ends. Disobedience ends. Anyone who breaks the prince's estate rules faces military law without mercy. Then he says the part that actually reaches them. He was once in the Northern Border Army. He knows what soldiers want most: enough food, warm clothes, and the chance to live like human beings. Duan Huai falls silent. Behind him, his men whisper. One Scarface subordinate says officials never speak truth. Back in the border army, beautiful words did not stop generals from embezzling military pay while men froze and starved. Another says no government feeds bandits and gives them positions unless it plans to trap them. Duan Huai shares that doubt. He has been harmed by officials too many times to believe a piece of meat can buy his brothers' lives. So he asks Luo Cheng why he should trust us. Luo Cheng waves a hand. A guard brings out coarse-grained steamed buns and a small bag of salt. Luo Cheng says these are the daily rations for Prince's estate guards, 4 buns per man per day, plus 1 liang of dried meat and a pinch of salt. When marching or fighting double, Duan Huoi does not need to look back. He can hear his brother's breathing change. He remembers the watery gruel in the stronghold, the men too thin to hold weapons properly, and the young disaster victim who stole rice paste meant for the wounded because hunger had eaten through his judgment. Duan Huai broke that boy's leg himself, and the memory sits in his stomach like stone. He called himself a leader, but what has he given them besides cold, hunger, and another day of not dying? In the past month, they have barely robbed anything worth dividing. Roads are watched, rich households are guarded. If this continues, the government will not need to suppress Black Wind Mountain. The mountain will starve itself empty. Luo Cheng sees the change on his face and offers the second path. He hands over an iron work pass from the prince's estate workshop. With that pass, a man can collect daily rations at any estate supply point in Yunzhou City and buy salt, cloth, and ironware at the lowest price. If the bandits do not want to join the engineering corps, they can lay down their weapons, disband, receive work passes, and live in Yunzhou as ordinary people by laboring with their own hands. Join as a corps or disband as civilians. Either way, stop being bandits and live under the sun. For the first time, Duan Huoi understands that this is not just a trap dressed in kindness. The prince's estate has strength, food, terms, discipline, and even a retreat path prepared. More importantly, it is treating them like men who can choose, not beasts to be hunted. After a long silence, Duan Huoi drives his saber into the ground. He says he will trust the prince once. From today on, Black Wind Mountain follows Luo Cheng. Then he corrects himself. No, it follows the prince. Spring comes to Yunzhou slowly, with cold still clinging to the thawed soil. For farmers, that short window before planting is everything, so Su Wenheng pushes the workshops hard. Before spring plowing, the first batch of over 50 curved shaft plows is finally completed and sent to villages near the city, along with simple illustrated guides drawn by Lin Rui. I expect cheers. Clean water worked. Cement worked. The public faucets turned me into half a legend. Surely a lighter, smarter plow will be an easy victory. The field immediately teaches me humility. That afternoon, I am in the backyard supervising the foundation of my future hot spring pool when Su Wenheng walks in with a grim face and a freshly broken piece of curved wood. He says the plow has a problem. In Wonyu village, during trial plowing, the shaft snapped while turning. Other villages reported similar failures. Broken shafts, cracked plowshares, joints that could not handle the force. Now villagers are calling the new plow a pretty but useless toy and demanding their old straight shaft plows back. For once, I am genuinely stunned. I can draw the concept. I can explain why a curved shaft plow saves labor. But I am not a carpenter, not a structural engineer, and not a god. In a field with real timber, real oxen, and real stress on real joints, half-remembered modern knowledge does not magically become a working tool. That silence is useful. It reminds me that a clever idea is only the first step. I call Fang Jingheng. He examines the broken shaft and agrees with Su Wenheng. The design is clever, but because the structure is more intricate, the force concentrates at key connection points. Ordinary mortise and tenon joints cannot withstand that torque. Good southern ironwood or old mountain mulberry could solve it, but Yunzhou has little of that timber and cannot promote the plow at scale using rare materials. Su Wenheng worries that the plow will become a useless treasure. Brilliant, but impossible to use. I pick up a twig and draw the plow in the damp earth. The whole plow is not weak. A few key joints are brittle, so we do not replace the entire body. We reinforce the knees and ankles. They stare at me, right? Different words. I draw U-shaped iron splints around the fragile corner, and iron plates with holes at the plowshare connection. Iron as bone, wood as flesh. The wood provides shape and lightness. Iron wraps, clamps, and penetrates the stress points. Ordinary carpenters cut standardized wooden parts. Blacksmiths forge standardized iron fittings. Then craftsmen assemble them quickly. No delicate miracle craftsmanship for every single plow. Repeatable parts, mass assembly. Fang's eyes light up again because he immediately sees the bigger idea. If iron reinforcement and standard parts work for plows, they can work for beams, axles, tool handles, carts, and who knows what else. Then he tries to kneel again. I stop him because the ground is cold, and we do not have time for ceremonial enthusiasm. He has 3 days to make the first iron-boned curved shaft plow sample. Su Wenheng has to go calm the villages. Tell the people the estate is improving the plow, recalling the flawed plows, replacing them for free, and compensating each affected household with 5 caddies of aged rice for the lost work. Public trust is already thin in Yunzhou. If we break a promise and act arrogant, we lose more than a plow. Su Wenheng rides straight to Wonyu village. At the old locust tree, villagers are gathered around the broken plow. A dark-faced man is shouting that planting season is almost here, and if the prince's fancy toy delays their farming, who will repay the loss? The village chief is sweating through every excuse he has. Su Wenheng dismounts, examines the break, then faces the villagers and bows. That bow changes the air. Officials do not bow to villagers, not in the worlds they know. He admits the prince's estate failed to foresee that local timber could not bear the new plow's force. He says the prince has already ordered the craftsmen to improve it overnight. Within 3 days, a sturdier iron-reinforced plow will be delivered. The broken plows will be recalled and replaced for free. Each affected household receives 5 caddies of aged rice. Explanation, deadline, compensation. Anger finally drains into suspicion, then into cautious acceptance. The loudest man scratches his head and says they will trust the government one more time. Meanwhile, the forging workshop turns into controlled thunder. Fang goes shirtless in the furnace heat, hammering red-hot iron with the best blacksmiths. Bellows roars, sparks fly. If a quenching temperature is wrong, they redo it. If an angle is off, it goes back into the fire. The only sounds are bellows, hammers, and hot metal hissing in cold water. I sit nearby under fox fur, pretending to rest while my fingers keep tapping the armrest. Because if this plow fails too, the problem is not just broken wood. It becomes a trust crisis. So I call Lin Rui and tell him to prepare a public trial in Wonyu village. Find the hardest, most difficult piece of wasteland. Invite village chiefs, elders, and the men who complained loudest. Bring one of the old straight-shaft plows too. If the new plow works, let everyone see it. If it does not, at least I will know which part of my retirement dream just caught fire. The next morning, a crowd gathers by the rocky slope east of Wonyu village. Lin Rui maintains order. Su Wenheng watches with sweaty palms. Fang personally pushes in the new plow on a cart. The iron-boned curved shaft plow looks different immediately. The body is still wood, but the key corners and joints are wrapped in dark iron fittings, riveted tight with thick iron nails. It looks less like a delicate tool and more like a farm implement wearing armor where it actually needs armor. The dark-faced villager who shouted the loudest is pushed forward to try it. He grips the handles, the plow feels steady. He calls to the yellow ox. The plowshare bites into the hard ground and cuts through it cleanly. Damp dark soil rolls over in a straight, deep furrow. The ox moves smoothly. The force in the man's hands is less than half of what he feels with the old plow. He turns sharply several times and the iron fittings hold firm. Nothing cracks, nothing loosens. The man stops, stares at the plow, and says it is more than 10 times better than the old one his father passed down. With this, he could plow an extra mu of land a day by himself. Then everyone wants to try. One after another, the doubters take the handles, and one after another, they come back conquered. Lin Rui has the same man and same ox use the old straight-shaft plow beside it. The difference is obvious. The old plow stumbles, the ox strains, the furrows come out shallow and messy. Lin Rui asks whether anyone still thinks the prince's new plow is just pretty. Nobody answers. The village chief kneels first, bowing toward Yunzhou city and apologizing for being blind. The villagers follow. Su Wenheng exhales so deeply his whole soul probably lives and comes back. Back at the estate when I hear the trial succeeded, I only roll over and rub my temples. The iron-boned plow works. Good. Now the real problem begins. One plow is easy. Hundreds or thousands need iron, craftsmen, time, and money. The iron-boned curved shaft plow spreads fast. Villages that doubted us now crane their necks waiting for their turn. Fang becomes the undisputed chief engineer, dividing work properly. Carpenters cut bodies to uniform dimensions, blacksmiths forge standardized iron fittings and plowshares, and assembly teams put everything together. The workshop's output rises sharply. Then Su Wenheng brings me the ledger. I am in the study, warm under a blanket in a new rocking chair, holding rock sugar pear soup beside a cement fireplace. The stone coal luo cheng found near Black Wind Mountain burns steadily, and for once the room feels like a place a sick person could actually survive winter. Su Wenheng ruins the piece by placing a cowhide-bound ledger beside me. Personnel first. Under the KPI assessment, he dismissed 7 idle officials, persuaded 5 elderly or infirm officials to retire, and promoted 12 capable young officials, including Lin Rui. The prefecture's efficiency is at least 3 times higher than last month, and salaries now save 127 taels per month. Good. Finance next. Funds embezzled by Hantai, Sun Maokai, and the others over the last 3 years have been recovered. 13,600 taels of silver and 700 pickles of grain, all deposited into the prince's estate treasury. Very good. Then project expenses hit the table. The Blackwater River Purification Project cost 3,000 taels of silver and 500 pickles of grain. Work relief porridge is calculated separately. The new plows have already consumed nearly 1,000 taels because iron is expensive and has to be purchased from other prefectures. To put a new plow in every farmer's hands, even 100,000 taels may not be enough. Also, the reorganized engineering corps now has nearly 300 men. They can quarry stone for now, but food, clothing, tools, and pay are constant expenses. Su Wenheng gives me the real sentence. We are almost out of money. I sit up. 13,600 taels sounded like a lot when we confiscated it. Then waterworks, roads, plows, food, and people open their mouths at the same time. Infrastructure does not eat money. It swallows it whole. While I am thinking, lunch arrives. There is roasted wild rabbit from the back mountain, and I dip a piece in the green salt. The moment it touches my tongue, I spit it out. The salt is bitter and astringent, like someone ground disappointment into crystals. Lin Rui says this is already the best green salt Yunzhou can buy. It only has a few more impurities. No, clean water, decent room, warm fireplace, and now my food is being sabotaged by bad salt. Absolutely not. A civilization can survive many things, but I refuse to let progress stop at the dinner plate. Su Wenheng looks like he wants to remind me that we are discussing bankruptcy, not seasoning. Too late. That afternoon, I drag Fang to the small kitchen and start purifying the green salt. We crush the inferior salt ore, dissolve it in boiling water, stir it, then filter it through layers of clean linen. The water is still cloudy, but the big impurities are gone. Fang asks whether this is still dirty water. I tell him to wait. The filtered salt water goes back into a clean pot and simmers slowly. As it concentrates, tiny white crystals appear on the pot walls and surface. I stop the heat, let the temperature fall, and more white frost precipitates out. We skim the crystals into a porcelain bowl, repeat the process, and throw away the filthy residue left behind. Everyone stares at the result. Fine white salt, delicate as first snow. Lin Rui tastes a tiny bit. His eyes widen. It is purely salty with no bitterness or strange taste. Finally, salt that does its job. I name it snowflake salt and tell Su Wenheng that improving quality of life is also an art. He accepts this with the expression of a man watching his prince solve a luxury problem while the treasury is bleeding. Then he reminds me that silver and iron are still the real crisis. Right, the crisis? My little modern tricks can make cement and plows, but they cannot summon mountains of iron. So I walk to the map of Yunzhou and stare at Black Wind Mountain and the ranges beyond it. Silver will not solve the immediate problem if there is no local iron. But maybe Yunzhou has iron and nobody important ever bothered to ask the right people. I ask Su Wenheng whether he has heard of reddish, heavy, strange stones in Yunzhou. Stones that look burned, sound dull when struck, and might even attract small iron nails. He has not. To him, Yunzhou is full of bluestone and granite. Then I ask about Duan Huoi. He has lived around Black Wind Mountain for years. Maybe he knows. Su Wenheng hesitates because Duan Huoi is a crude military man and former bandit. I cut him off. That is exactly why he may know. Scholars read old papers. Hunters, woodcutters, and bandits read the mountains. They know paths, rocks, grasses, and beasts because their lives depend on it. Su Wenheng admits he was thinking too narrowly. I decide to go myself. At the new quarry outside Yunzhou City, dust flies, while hundreds of former Black Wind Mountain bandits hammer and chisel stone as the Yunzhou Engineering Corps. They no longer carry the same wild desperation. They work hard because every swing means rations, a work badge, and the right to walk in Yunzhou City with their heads raised. Duan Huai stands on high ground in a dark blue estate uniform with a new standard saber at his waist, shouting at anyone who slacks off. When he sees me arrive, he hurries over and tells me not to dirty myself in the dust. I praise him. The men look spirited. He laughs and says if people can eat their fill, who wants to risk their neck stealing? The brothers say working for me is more exciting than robbing, because at least this way there is meat to eat. That is a brutally honest labor report, but I will take it. I tell him I have a new task, treasure hunting. I ask whether he has seen crimson or reddish-brown heavy stones near Black Wind Mountain. Stones like they were burned by fire, heavier than ordinary rock, perhaps dull when struck, perhaps able to pull small iron nails. Duan Huai thinks hard. One sharp-chinned aide suddenly remembers a bare ridge northeast of Black Wind Mountain, where they once got lost while chasing a white-browed tiger. The rocks there were red. Another man says the place was eerie, with red stones everywhere and no useful bluestone even to sharpen a knife. Duan Huai remembers Kaishi Ridge, about 30 li away. Hard road, red heavy stones, useless in his eyes because you cannot eat or drink them. I almost smiled too openly. I order him to choose 50 men most familiar with the mountain paths. Bring dry rations and water and leave at once. Bring back as many of those red heavy stones as possible. This concerns the future livelihood of Yunzhou and the merit of the engineering corps. Do it well and they will be rewarded. Duan Huai does not understand why rocks matter, but he understands a serious order. He salutes and says the mission will be completed. 2 days later at dusk, Duan Huai and 50 elite men return covered in dust, each carrying a sack so heavy their backs nearly bend under it. He is shouting before he even reaches us. They found it. Keishi Ridge is full of those red stones. He throws a sack at my feet. The opening spills reddish-brown stones with a metallic look. Fang Jingheng rushes forward, picks one up, checks its color, fracture, and weight, and nearly loses control of his voice. Hematite, top-grade hematite. With this mine, Yunzhou no longer has to worry about iron. Not just curved shaft plows, armor, weapons, tools, all of it becomes possible. The weight in my chest finally loosens. Money is still a problem, but iron is the backbone. With local hematite, Yunzhou is no longer just scraping through survival. It has the start of an industry. I turn to Duan Hua and announce that he and his men have rendered great service. By my order, all officers and soldiers of the engineering corps are promoted one rank, and this month's military pay is doubled. The quarry erupts. Men who were bandits not long ago shout until the mountains throw the sound back. Long live the prince! The moment Yunzhou finds iron, money finally comes smiling through the gate. By the time I understand the smile, every trade route feeding us is already being cut. The quarry is still shaking with cheers when Duan Hua drops to one knee in front of me and says his life belongs to me from now on. I help him up. I do not say what I am thinking. Because the mine is found, yes, but a mine is not iron in your hand. It still needs roads, men, tools, smelting furnaces, charcoal or coal, storage, transport, and enough money to keep the whole thing from collapsing halfway through. Hematite is a treasure mountain, but treasure mountains still send invoices. And Yunzhou is still poor. That afternoon, while I am lying in my study on the creaky rocking chair, calculating how much iron the next batch of curved shaft plows will swallow, Lin Rui bursts in like the city gate personally exploded. He says a huge caravan has arrived. Not scouts from my third brother. Not the crown prince's informants. A caravan, a very long one. The wheels are nearly breaking our new cement road, and the flag at the front carries 3 gilded characters. Wanbao Pavilion. That makes me sit up. Wanbao Pavilion is not some roadside trader with 3 carts and a borrowed flag. It is the Jiang family's commercial giant, with branches across the 9 provinces, trading silk, tea, jewelry, antiques, and the kind of rare goods that only move when serious money is involved. So why is a commercial giant rolling into Yunzhou, a place most merchants avoid unless they are lost or desperate? Lin Rui hands me the gift list on a red card flecked with gold. 10 East Sea Night Pearls, 2 pairs of top-grade Hessian Jade Rui, 1 box of century-old wild ginseng, 5 heavenly mountain snow lotuses. The list is short. Every item on it is expensive enough to make an ordinary county magistrate reconsider morality. I tell Lin Rui to let their man in. The man who enters is Cao Yuanheng, Wanbao Pavilion's northern regional manager. He is about 40, heavyset, wrapped in expensive Shu region brocade, and even in winter he keeps wiping sweat from his forehead with a gold-embroidered handkerchief. His face is all smiles. His eyes are not. Those small eyes are squeezed almost shut by his cheeks, but the sharpness inside them is bright and cold. This man has counted profit through more lies than most officials have read memorials. The moment he enters, he bows deep and pours out flattery like a broken wine jar. My virtue shines over Yunzhou, my talent is unmatched through the ages, his admiration is endless, river-like, and very loud. I let him talk until his throat starts losing the war. Then I tell Manager Cao to stand. The floor is cold, my study is poor, and his gift list is a little too heavy for small Yunzhou to bear. He understands immediately. Good, a merchant who cannot hear rejection inside politeness does not survive this long. He smiles even harder and says these are only small tokens for a true dragon prince. I stop him there. Wanbao Pavilion earns money every day. Yunzhou is dirt poor. These 2 carts are not even on the same road, so he did not come all this way for charity. Unsolicited kindness means mischief or theft. So I ask what he really wants. Cao Yunheng finally drops the curtain. He wants 2 things from Yunzhou: activated carbon and cement. He offers 1 tael of silver per jin for exclusive sales rights. I almost choke. 1 tael per jin. For charcoal that I am using to stop my people from drinking mud, and cement that I am using to stop Yunzhou from falling apart. Merchants really can smell profit from 3 provinces away. But I keep my face calm. I tell him his abacus is clever, but he does not understand Yunzhou's little business. Cement needs coal, labor, kilns burning day and night. And right now we do not even make enough to repair my own estate properly. Activated carbon is worse. 100 jin of good wood gives only a few jin of finished product, and every bit of it is needed for the city's water purification pools. These are not luxury goods to sell first. They are the foundation of Yunzhou's survival. Cao immediately bows and admits he was rash. He praises my concern for the people and calls himself vulgar for only seeing copper coins, which means he understands the price did not work. So I offer something else. Salt. At first he laughs. Salt is a government monopoly. Yunzhou does not produce salt. If he wanted salt, he would go to Shu region or Jiangnan. I take out a small porcelain bottle and pour a little white powder onto paper. It is fine, bright and clean as fresh snow. Snowflake salt, I tell him to taste it. Cao dips in the smallest amount with his finger and touches it to his tongue. His eyes widen, no bitterness, no grit, no muddy aftertaste. Just clean salt, pure enough that a merchant who has tasted famous salts from all across Great Xia suddenly looks like he has seen an immortal cheat in broad daylight. Now he understands, this is not seasoning, this is a blade pointed at the salt market. He drops to his knees and actually grabs my leg, crying that I am his second parent and that for this salt not just exclusive rights, he would give me his life. I try to pull my leg free with dignity. There is not much dignity. Manager Cao is built like a grain warehouse with hands. Once I finally pry him off, I tell him I do not want his life. I want cooperation, not a sale, a trading company. I provide the exclusive source of snowflake salt. Wanbao Pavilion provides channels, connections, transport, and market reach. They sell it across Great Xia. Profits are split 3 parts to them, 7 parts to me. Cao's face twitches. 7 is a lot, so I remind him that the salt is unique. If Wanbao Pavilion does not want it, royal relatives and noble families in the capital who envy their business will be very interested. His sweat answers before his mouth does. He agrees, then I give the real condition. From now on, all iron, copper, medicinal herbs, grain seeds, and craftsman Yunzhou needs must be supplied by Wanbao Pavilion first, in full without delay or excuses. It goes into the contract. That is the point. Silver is useful, but a stable supply route is better than a pile of coins. Yunzhou needs a commercial artery that can bring in materials without every checkpoint, middleman, and hostile family choking us out. Cao calculates fast. For Wanbao Pavilion, this is difficult but manageable. Their network already spans the empire. Supplying Yunzhou costs them less than it would cost me to beg from scattered merchants, and snowflake salt is too tempting to lose. So he agrees again. I call Lin Rui for brush and ink. Then I dictate a contract so detailed, it makes Cao Yuanheng's smile stiffen by degrees. Party rights and responsibilities, breach clauses, confidentiality, quality standards, force majeure, dispute resolution, exclusive cooperation. If Wanbao Pavilion secretly contacts third parties over purified salt technology, compensation is 10 times the profits already earned. By the time Lin Rui finishes writing, Cao is staring at the document like it has teeth. And it does. This is not a friendly handshake. This is a golden rope. At one end is snowflake salt. At the other end is Yunzhou's supply chain. If Wanbao Pavilion wants the money, it has to pull with us. Cao realizes that I never plan to simply sell a recipe. I want his roots, his warehouses, his managers, the Jiang family's commercial muscle. A channel that can keep Yunzhou fed, armed, supplied, and moving. He is afraid, but the profit is too large to refuse. So he signs. After Cao leaves with his contract, and the tiny bottle of snowflake salt wrapped like a sacred relic, Lin Rui finally voices the worry he has been holding in. Great Xia values agriculture and suppresses commerce. A prince getting close to merchants invites impeachment. Worse, Wanbao Pavilion belongs to the Jiangnan Jiang family, tied to powerful court figures. What if they have bad intentions and Yunzhou ends up controlled by them? I wave it off. Impeachment, let them talk. I am an idle prince sent to a barren border. If the censors write memorials, will those memorials turn into iron or grain? Reputation is air. Grain, silver, and blades are real. As for control, that is why the contract exists. I am not trusting Cao Yuanheng's virtue. I am tying his greed to our stability. As long as the snowflake salt method stays in my hands, and as long as Wanbao Pavilion wants that profit, they need Yunzhou alive. Lin Rui looks half enlightened and half terrified. Fair? Sometimes good governance is just making someone else's greed drag your cart uphill. Wanbao Pavilion moves faster than expected. 3 days later, the first supply convoy enters Yunzhou. Dozens of loaded carriages roll over the cement road outside the city gate, bringing iron, copper ingots, premium timber from the south, tools, managers, accountants, and enough goods to make the whole city gather in the streets. Behind the prince's estate, Su Wenheng, Lin Rui, Fang Jingheng, and Duan Hua stand around the unloaded supplies like men who have just found a second treasury. Su touches a roll of smooth Jiangnan silk and mutters that it is extravagant, while absolutely failing to stop touching it. Lin Rui works through the freight manifest with his abacus clattering, torn between storage panic and visible joy. Duan Hua and his engineering corps officers hover around the iron like hungry men outside a kitchen. Fang is worse. He picks up a southern steel chisel, admires the edge, grabs a pure copper ingot, starts muttering about bearings, and looks at raw material with the kind of devotion other men reserve for romance. I arrive wrapped in fox fur and ask how everyone feels. Duan Hua answers first. It feels like a beggar who has been poor for generations fell into a golden nest. Accurate? Then I assign the work. Lin Rui handles inventory, storage, and allocation. Every item must have a clear origin and destination. Wanbao Pavilion sent 50 experienced accountants and managers, so he will mix them with our people and build the prince's estate logistics system. Feng gets priority access to the iron and copper. Within 1 month, I want Yunzhou's first improved blast furnace. I also give him the task of turning snowflake salt purification into a standardized workshop. Rows of large stoves, filter pools, cauldrons, fixed process, higher capacity. Duan Huai takes the main force of the engineering core to Kaishi Ridge. Set up camp, build roads, fell trees, prepare for large-scale mining. Safety first. I do not want men dying from landslides or wild beasts, because everyone got excited and forgot mountains kill people. Su Wenheng holds the center. Internal affairs, people's livelihood, arrangements for new craftsmen and managers, everything busy but not chaotic. They all receive their orders and scatter like wound-up tops. For one beautiful moment, I feel the hands-off life returning. Then Lin Rui sidles over with the face of a man carrying bad news he wishes belonged to someone else. Cao Yunheng secretly gave him a 500-tael silver note for tea money, hoping Lin Rui would look after matters in Yunzhou later. Lin Rui did not dare accept it, and now he offers it to me with both hands, terrified. I ask why Cao gave it. Lin Rui says it is a bribe. Half right, it is also a test. Cao is probing Yunzhou's rules and investing early in the person who handles operations. I do not take the money. Instead, I tell Lin Rui to prepare a return gift tomorrow. Something from our new workshop, like a compact hand axe or clever toolbox. Deliver it personally. Tell Cao that the prince's estate cannot accept silver because it has rules, but we appreciate his sincerity and hope future cooperation remains fair and prosperous. That preserves the line, gives face, and warns him we understand exactly what he tried. Lin Rui nods like he understands enough to be afraid. Good enough? Meanwhile, 1,000 li away in Jiangnan, spring rain falls over Wuzhen, and the Jiang family mansion looks like wealth learned how to become architecture. Cut to the warm pavilion by the water. Premium Longjing tea steams in delicate roux-ware cups. Apricot blossoms bloom outside. Everything is beautiful, expensive, and cold. Inside, Jiang Yuchen, eldest legitimate grandson of the Jiang family and young master of Wanbao Pavilion, is furious. Cao Yunheng kneels on the bluestone floor, soaked in cold sweat. Jiang Yuchen smashes a priceless teacup so hard hot tea splashes onto Cao's face, and Cao does not dare make a sound. Jiang Yuchen calls him a fool. Salt is the foundation of the Jiang family and the Jiangnan gentry. Anyone who touches that foundation is an enemy. Cao was sent north to expand markets and suppress opponents, not hand Wanbao Pavilion's roots to a disgraced prince with purified salt. Cao argues that he tasted the snowflake salt himself. Its quality is far beyond any official salt they sell. Once it enters the market, the impact will be devastating. Better to grasp it first than let someone else become their enemy. Jiang Yuchen does not accept that. To him, initiative does not come from compromise. It comes from crushing the opponent before the opponent grows teeth. He asks what a 16-year-old sick prince has. Soldiers, money, people. Yunzhou burns cement, smelts iron, recruits bandits, and thinks it can hide behind closed doors like a local king. Then he gives the order. Wanbao Pavilion's northern trade routes are to be retracted. All supplies heading toward Yunzhou, especially iron, copper, and medicinal materials, are to be blocked. The excuse will be simple. Bandits are rampant, roads are unsafe, caravans have suffered losses, and nobody dares travel. He also wants northern bandits stirred up against Yunzhou. If Shen Qing'an likes recruiting bandits, then let every hungry blade in the north go test him. Cao goes cold. This is not negotiation. This is strangulation. He reminds Jiang Yuchen about the contract and the 10 times compensation. Jiang Yuchen laughs. In Great Xia, the Jiang family's word is rule. What compensation can a fallen prince demand from them? Then Jiang Yuchen reveals the darker move. He throws a thin black bamboo slip onto the floor. No words, just a tiny black spider painted in silver powder. Cao's pupils shrink. He knows that sign. Years ago in Shu region, a wealthy spice family angered the Tang sect by imitating a secret spice recipe. The Tang sect did not openly attack. They sent a pot of black orchids as a birthday gift. 3 days later, the family head went mad with hallucinations. 7 days later, his skin festered and he died laughing. Within a month, the rest of the family died in ways that looked impossible to prove. Choking, suffocation, sudden madness, accidents with no poison found. Old Jianghu people called it the Tang sect's bloodless knife. Jiang Yuchen says the Tang sect is interested in cement, activated carbon, and the iron smelting furnace. The Jiang family has long supplied the Tang sect with rare medicinal materials for poisons, and the Tang sect is willing to help clean up inconvenient trash. Economic blockade is only the first step. The unseen knife is the real threat. Jiang Yuchen orders Cao back to Yunzhou. Pretend to comply, agree to whatever the prince asks. Delay everything, keep him stable until the trap tightens. Cao leaves trembling, carrying the weight of a war he can no longer control. Back in Yunzhou, none of us know the full shape of the knife yet. For a while, everything looks perfect. The first supplies arrive. Storehouses fill with iron, copper, and timber. Keishi Ridge roads connect the mine to the city. Duan Hui's engineering core works with high morale. Fang's improved blast furnace foundation is being dug day and night. The Snowflake Salt Workshop takes shape, waiting for merchant caravans to collect goods. Everything is orderly, everything is busy. Everything looks like I finally built a system where other people can work while I soak. So I do exactly that. One afternoon, I settle into my completed hot spring pool. The pool draws live thermal spring water from outside the city, built with cement, polished smooth inside. Bluestone slabs surround it. A low table holds warm fruit wine and pastries. I hold Fang's drainage system blueprint and actually enjoy reading it. The three-way valve is good. Bronze is too wasteful, so sintered hard pottery may work better. The U-bend is important to stop odors from backing up. Details matter, especially when the detail decides whether your room smells like civilization or a ditch. Zio Ning refills my wine and reminds me I have been soaking almost an hour. I take a sip and look at the patch of sky over the courtyard. This is life. Then hurried footsteps ruin it. Lin Rui nearly stumbles into the backyard, sweating hard enough to qualify as rain. I sink lower in the water and ask whether the sky has fallen. He says the sky has not fallen. The whole setup might. The second batch of supplies ordered through Wanbao Pavilion all has problems. 3,000 caddies of iron from Qin province were supposedly lost to bandits. Rare medicinal herbs from Shu region supposedly sank after the boat hit a reef. And Cao Yuanheng sends word that his northern routes are being attacked repeatedly, with casualties, so he needs an extension and can only resume supply after re-establishing the routes. I sit upright in the water. One incident is accident, two can be coincidence. Everything failing at once, each with a neat little excuse, is someone testing whether I am stupid. I ask where Su Wenheng is. He is already waiting in the study. I wrap myself in a robe and go. In the study, Su stands before the map, brows tight. He says this is no accident. Someone is weaving a net around Yunzhou. Wanbao Pavilion, or more accurately, the Jiang family behind it. The largest merchants in Qin province and Shu region may not be directly controlled by the Jiang family, but their connections to Wanbao Pavilion are deep enough to cut our material supply at the same time under different excuses. The motive is snowflake salt. Salt is one of the Jiangnan gentry's largest money bags. If our snowflake salt enters the market, it does not just compete. It shakes their foundation. So they are striking first before Yunzhou fully grows. I fall silent. I thought I had tied Wanbao Pavilion down with profit and contract clauses. I forgot one important thing. People who already control a table do not always play the game. Sometimes they flip the table and call that strategy. Now our iron supply is cut. New plow production stalls. The blast furnace lacks key refractory materials. The machine we just started is about to lose its fuel. Su Wenheng and Lin Rui wait for my decision. I walk to the map and place my finger on Keishi Ridge. They can cut trade routes into Yunzhou. They cannot move the mountain under our feet. So I give the order. Summon Fang Jingheng and Duan Hua to the prince's estate immediately. From today on, all secondary projects in Yunzhou are suspended. All manpower, all cement, all materials concentrate on one thing. At Keishi Ridge, smelt the iron. The supply routes are cut, the blast furnace is stalled, and everyone in my study looks ready to bury Yunzhou early, so I do the only responsible thing. I peel an apple. The new cement fireplace is burning bright, but the room is colder than a tax notice. Su Wenheng stands in front of the map like he is trying to glare a hole through Jiangnan itself. Lin Rui's abacus keeps clicking. Luo Cheng and Duan Hui stand by the entrance, and Fang Jingheng looks like he has not slept since the word refractory entered his life. I just came out of the hot spring robe, loose hair still damp, silver knife in hand, apple peel curling down nice and clean. And nobody is enjoying the performance. Rude, honestly, so I ask them what they are standing around for, waiting for dinner. Su finally says Wanbao Pavilion has broken its word. All outside materials into Yunzhou are blocked now. Iron, copper, medicinal herbs, everything. The engineering core burns through supplies every day, and the treasury stock can last at most another month and a half. 1.5 months. That number sits in the room harder than the map table. Fang adds the second punch. The blast furnace construction has stopped because we lack the key refractory materials. Without them, forget smelting iron. We cannot even build the furnace wall. Duan Hua immediately wants to fight his way out and plunder Jiangnan. I look at him and ask, plunder who? The poor people nearby. Or march 1,000 li to Jiangnan and arrive so exhausted his men cannot swing their swords. The room goes quiet, which is good, because sometimes bravery needs to sit down and drink water. Then I tell them this is a good thing. Everyone stares at me like the apple was poisoned, and I ate the whole thing. But it is good because Wanbao Pavilion exposed its fangs early. We used their channels because it was fast. Their money and connections helped us build water purification, cement, and farm tools in a short time. That choice was correct then. But a merchant is not a friend. A contract only controls people who still care about rules. If profit is large enough or fear is large enough, they tear the paper and smile while doing it. If Wanbao Pavilion had waited until Yunzhou depended on them completely, we would be finished. Instead, they showed their hand while we still had a mountain full of ore under our feet. So from now on, we stop reaching outward first. No more living with someone else's hand around our throat. If they will not sell us iron, we smelt it. If they will not sell us refractory bricks, we fire them. Core technology has to sit in Yunzhou's own hands. I announced the Yunzhou Industrial Self-Reliance Plan. Codename the Furnace. Su Wenheng handles stability, keeps the city running, appeases the people, and calculates exactly how long our food, cloth, stone, manpower, and other resources can support the furnace plan. Fang Jingheng leads the search for local materials to fire high-temperature refractory bricks. If he lacks workers, he gets artisans. If he lacks materials, Duan digs them out of the mountain. Duan Hui's engineering corps has one job, mining. Keishi Ridge gets dug to the limit. I want ore piles so large the ridge starts regretting its life choices. Lin Rui coordinates all of it. Manpower, money, technology, movement, records. One wrong count in this kind of crisis becomes a missing wall, a hungry worker, or a furnace that never lights. Fang still worries. Even if we manage to fire the bricks and build the blast furnace, he has only studied my blueprints. He has never actually done it. There may be countless problems. I pick up another apple and tell him the greatest creations in the world are forced into existence. And just like that, Yunzhou starts moving. Every road, cart, worker, coin, and sack of material begins flowing toward Keishi Ridge. The city does not become calm. It becomes focused. The first problem arrives immediately. At the number one blast furnace site, Fang crouches in front of a pile of freshly fired brick blanks and snaps one with tongs. It breaks with a dry crack. The inside is rough, porous, and useless. Ordinary clay cannot survive the heat. Yellow sticky clay from the outskirts fails. Black mud from the riverbank fails. Red earth from the mountains fails. Too many impurities. The bricks crack, soften, or crumble before they can become a furnace wall. The furnace plan is stuck before the furnace exists. News reaches me at the estate while I am studying a new blueprint for a hydraulic forging hammer and hydraulic blower. All rods, gears, and water power. Very relaxing drawing, only slightly more complicated than my attempt to retire. Lin Rui reports Fang's problem and I start pacing. Too many impurities. That word catches in my head because I have seen it before with salt. Bitter rock salt became snowflake salt because we purified it. So maybe the soil problem is the same. Not any mud, a purer clay, ceramics, white porcelain, high white clay. I cannot exactly stand there and explain aluminum silicate to people who already think cement is sorcery. So I keep it practical. I summon Fang back with samples of his best ceramic clay. Half a day later, he arrives dusty, red-eyed, and carrying small pottery jars like a man bringing evidence to a trial. I point to the whitest, finest clay and ask if this is his best porcelain material. He says yes, it is high white clay from Jiangnan, used for high-grade white porcelain. That is the target. We do not need random muds. We need a local soil like this, pure, fine, and naturally resistant to fire. Fang says Yunzhou is barren, mostly green granite mountains. Where are we supposed to find rare fire-resistant soil? So I stop treating it like one craftsman's private headache and turn the whole city into a search party. Lin Rui posts the notice. The prince's estate is looking for special soil. Pure white or pale yellow, white like high-grade rice flour, fine to the touch, smooth as lard, able to be molded and fired without cracking, hard as stone afterward. Anyone with a clue gets 100 taels of silver. Anyone who brings the soil and knows how to fire the hardest refractory bricks becomes an honored craftsman with the highest master artisan treatment. 100 taels hits Yunzhou like thunder. Poor families, settled refugees, kiln workers, potters, and mountain hunters all grab tools and start digging through fields and hills. For 3 days, soil samples pile up at the estate like everyone is trying to sell me the entire ground. None of them works. Then a young man steps forward. He is in his early 20s, plain-looking, dark from labor, dressed in faded, coarse clothes, hands calloused, black mud still under his nails. He barely speaks. His eyes stay calm, too calm, like nothing in the room can surprise him. He brings one small packet wrapped in torn cloth. Inside is exactly what I need. Fine as paste, flawlessly white, kale and Fang nearly throws himself onto it. He sniffs it, kneads it, and even licks it before remembering we are all watching. No judgment. When a craftsman finds the material that saves his furnace, dignity can wait outside. He asks where the young man found it. The man points 30 li west of the city and says only 3 words. Rotten Mud Gully. I ask if he understands firing methods. He nods. I ask his name. Ash? No surname, just that. A name that sounds less like a person and more like something left after a fire. Su Wenhang's eyes sharpen immediately. The man is too quiet, too skilled, too convenient. But the furnace is choking on lack of material, and this man just carried oxygen into the room. I hire Ash on the spot as a specially appointed kiln master, with the same treatment as Fang, and assign him to help fire the strongest refractory bricks. Ash only bows slightly. That night, while Kishi Ridge keeps hammering in the distance, Ash returns to the small shed assigned to him below the ridge. The room is clean, every item arranged with unnatural precision. He checks the doors and windows. Then he pulls a travel bag from under the bed, opens a hidden compartment sewn with copper wire, and removes an oilcloth bundle. Inside are not coins, not food, not ordinary tools. There are willow leaf knives thin as paper, silver needles finer than hair, hooked bone probes, and small porcelain bottles filled with powders and liquids. He lights no lamp. Instead, he brings out a small phosphorescent stone that glows faint green, just enough to see without warning anyone outside. By that light, the dull kiln worker is gone. Ash takes a thumb-sized bamboo message tube and engraves tiny coded words into its inner wall with a silver needle. The message says the fish is in the net. The furnace project has started. The target is Shen Kingen. He values construction techniques and has allowed Ash into the core. He seals the tube, gives a low night call at the window, and a completely black crow lands on the sill. Ash ties the message to its leg and tells it to take the message to Spider. Then he molds a tiny black spider out of mud, every leg in detail precise, and smiles for the first time. Meanwhile, the Kaolin does exactly what we needed it to do. With Ash's kiln skill and Fang's design, hard white refractory bricks begin coming out batch after batch. The number one blast furnace rises at Kishi Ridge, tall, vertical, and heavier than anything Yunzhou has built before. When the day comes to ignite it, everyone gathers in the cleared open space. Su Wenhang, Lin Rui, Luo Cheng, Duan Huai, Fang Jinghang, Ash the craftsman, and me. Su says the auspicious time has arrived. I do not arrange a giant ritual. I just tell Fang to begin. The hydraulic blower roars. Fang throws the torch into the ignition port. Fire catches, air drives it upward, and workers feed coke and hematite ore through the top by pulley hoists. Then we wait. The furnace body reddens, heat bends the air, ore cracks inside with dull, heavy sounds. Fang and Ash stand by the observation port, faces lit red, clothes soaked through. Ash adds prepared limestone powder from time to time. Fang watches the fire color like his life is tied to that glow, because honestly today it kind of is. Then he calls out that the fire is too bright. The temperature may be too high. My heart tightens. Higher heat is not automatically better. Too much carbon can make the iron hard and brittle instead of tough. I order the hydraulic blower speed reduced by 30%, and the calcination time extended. The fire settles from dazzling white to steady golden yellow. Almost an hour later, Fang shouts that it is time to tap the iron. The strongest craftsmen force open the tapping hole sealed with refractory clay. Molten iron bursts out. A golden stream surges into the sand troughs, sparks flying, the whole valley lit like daylight. For one breath, nobody speaks. Stone has become liquid metal in front of us. Then everyone erupts. Su drops the ceremonial tablet in his hand. Duan Hua is practically shaking, shouting that Yunzhou has its own iron. But Fang and I keep staring. Celebrating before the ingot cools is how you embarrass yourself in front of metallurgy. The first batch solidifies. Fang lifts a warm ingot with tongs, places it on the anvil, raises a hammer, and strikes. The ingot cracks. The cheering dies instantly. The fracture is shiny and coarse. Brittle pig iron, hard but useless for the work we need. It cannot make good weapons. It probably cannot even make a decent hoe. Fang kneels in the hot sand and blames himself. He says he ruined my great plan because the temperature was not controlled well enough. I pick up a broken piece and weigh it in my hand. This is not failure, it is a flawed success. We built a brand new furnace and produced molten iron on the first ignition. That alone proves the direction is right. The problem is not the idea. The problem is the details. I ask Fang to confirm the temperature issue. He says the furnace ran too hot, the iron absorbed too much carbon, and the toughness was lost. Then I ask Ash what the limestone is for. He says it removes slag. Ore has impurities, and when limestone is heated, it fuses with them into slag, making the molten iron purer. I ask him to judge the slag. Ash checks the cooled slag and says the dark color means impurities remain. There it is, temperature control and deslagging. Two problems, not the end of the world. Not even close. I declare the first phase of the furnace plan a success, because Yunzhou has proven it can turn stone into iron. Then I tell Fang to stand up, review the data, and prepare for the second ignition. 3 days later, Kishi Ridge holds its breath again. The same furnace, the same weight, a completely different pressure. This time when the molten iron pours out and cools, Fang taps the first ingot with a small hammer. Ding! The sound rings clean through the valley. Only a shallow white mark appears. No cracks. Then Fang switches to a sledgehammer and brings it down with everything he has. Sparks fly. The hammer bounces. The ingot only deforms slightly. No cracks. This time the silence does not mean despair. It means everybody is waiting for their brain to catch up. Then an old blacksmith starts crying, saying he has forged iron his whole life and has never seen iron this tough and pure. Duan Huai grabs the still warm ingot like it is a royal decree. He says with this divine iron, he can forge an invincible army of ironclad warriors for me. The valley explodes into cheers. I stand above them and finally let out the breath I have been holding for days. We did it. Not borrowed iron, not bought iron, or iron. And yes, while everyone is dreaming of armor and weapons, part of me is already thinking about iron walks, iron shovels, iron pipes for the hot spring, and maybe one ridiculous iron reclining chair. I contain multitudes. Most of them want comfort. That night, the second phase meeting begins in the study. Fang reports that if the one blast furnace runs day and night, it can produce about 500 caddies of fine iron daily. 500 caddies sounds huge until I do the math. One iron-boned curved shaft plow needs about 10 caddies of iron for its key parts and plowshare. That means 50 plows a day. For all the farmers in Yunzhou, that is not enough. A full suit of body armor needs at least 40 to 50 caddies of iron. Duan's 300-man engineering corps alone would require more than 10,000 caddies just for armor, before swords, spears, and other weapons. Roads, bridges, tools, workshops, repairs, every future plan will eat iron. So the problem has changed. It is no longer whether we can make iron. It is whether we can make enough. Fang gives the obvious answer, build more blast furnaces. Now that the refractory bricks work and the blueprint has been tested, Kishi Ridge can build 10, even 20 furnaces if we provide the manpower and materials. That is exactly what I want. Not just a smelting workshop. Mining sites, coke plants, forging workshops, tool workshops. Kishi Ridge will become Yunzhou's industrial heart. I draw a large circle around Kishi Ridge on the map and start assigning orders. Duan Hua expands the engineering corps immediately. He will select strong, disciplined workers from the work for relief civilians and recruit another 100 men. Roads, barracks, warehouses, all infrastructure inside the Kishi Ridge Circle becomes his responsibility. Su Wenheng and Lin Rui handle funds, provisions, personnel, and the registration of every skilled craftsman in Yunzhou. Carpenters, stonemasons, blacksmiths, bricklayers. Anyone working in the prince's workshops gets double wages and preferential treatment. Ash receives 20 apprentices. Within 1 month, he must train a team capable of independently firing qualified refractory bricks. 1 month? The clock starts there because one kiln master is useful. But one suspicious kiln master holding the only key to our furnace walls is not a system. It is a hostage situation with better clay. Everyone leaves with orders and only Luo Cheng stays behind. He says what I am already thinking. Kishi Ridge is now our core stronghold, but he has only about 100 personal guards who can truly fight. Duan's engineering corps is brave, yes, but they are engineers, not soldiers. If trouble comes, we may not be able to protect everything. He is right. The Jiang family has already torn off its polite mask. The economic blockade was only the appetizer. They will not calmly watch Yunzhou become self-sufficient. I look out into the heavy night and tell Luo Cheng our blades need to be sharpened even more. Then a guard knocks. A messenger from the south has arrived. He brings a bamboo tube sealed with a small blooming rose and wax. I know that mark. It belongs to the secret letters between me and my only sister in the capital, Princess Chengel Shen Yuying. I break the seal and read. The letter is short. A month ago, Jiang Yuchen, the young master of the Jiang family of Jiangnan, secretly met with people from the Tang sect of Shu region in the capital. After the meeting, a merchant caravan carrying a black spider token left the capital and headed north, moving in secret. Father Emperor's health has been poor recently. The crown prince and third brother are clashing harder, and she warns me to take care in the north, because one must always be wary of others. Black Spider, Tang sect, the room seems colder than before. The blockade is the open move. This is the hidden blade. Jiang Yuchen dared to tear the contract apart because he believes I will not be alive long enough to demand payment. A dead man does not collect debts. I burn the letter in the candle flame and crush the rose wax seal in my palm. For a moment, only the fireplace crackles. I had expected more trade pressure. Maybe court censors, maybe hired trouble around Kishi Ridge. But the Jiang family skipped straight to professional assassins and poisoners. They cannot win claims, so they reach for the dark. My comfortable life is not just delayed now. It is under direct threat. I tell Luo Cheng to double every sentry post inside and outside the prince's residence. All food and drink entering must be inspected by at least 3 people. Luo will personally lead the defense of the Kishi Ridge mine. Any unauthorized stranger who approaches gets no warning. Kill without mercy. Luo accepts the order, but I stop him before he leaves. This is still only passive defense. If the enemy is already sending shadows into Yunzhou, Closing the doors and hoping for the best is how a man gets buried indoors. I summon Su Wenheng and Lin Rui back. No one sleeps tonight. Half an hour later, the study is bright again. Su and Lin return, see Luo Cheng's face, see mine, and understand at once that something serious has happened. I do not tell them every detail of the letter. I tell them enough. Jiangnan is jealous of Yunzhou's growth. They may use sabotage and assassination. So tonight we launch a top-level security plan. The Yunzhou Bastion Project. I spread parchment on the table and sketch the prince's residence, Qixi Ridge Industrial Zone, and Yunzhou City. Defense cannot be scattered. It has to be layered. First, the red zones, the prince's residence and the core workshops at Qixi Ridge. Only key supervisors, personal guards, and artisans who pass strict background checks can enter. Everyone needs special identification badges, double verification, and registration. Every object entering, even wood or grain, must be opened and inspected by a dedicated team. Second, the yellow alert zone, the whole industrial zone and the outer mine perimeter. The engineering core and ordinary craftsmen work there. Entry requires work badges. Checkpoints stand between areas, guarded by Luo Cheng's men. No casual crossing between zones. At the end of every workday, people are counted, and any unexplained absence is reported immediately. Third, the blue outer zone, all of Yunzhou City. City gate checks increase. Every outsider entering or leaving must register origin, destination, and guarantor. Lin Rui takes charge through the household registration clerks and gate officials. Better to detain a suspicious person by mistake than let the wrong one walk into our heart. Su understands the method, but he worries about manpower, resources, and panic among the people. So I tell him to draft a proclamation. Say bandit activity in the north has become rampant, and for the safety of soldiers and civilians, Yunzhou will temporarily raise its alert level. As for the manpower cost, I make the priority clear. I would rather let the blast furnace fires die down than let an enemy spy infiltrate our core. Su bows and accepts the order. The first person I test after building Yunzhou's new security net is the exact man I suspect might be standing inside it. Ash, he is in the corner of the study again, silent enough that even Su Wenheng and Lin Rui still take half a step back when he appears. I look at him and two details click together in my head. First, Luo Cheng's guards already checked the backgrounds of the new core craftsmen. Most people had a trail, refugee records, workshop history, village ties, someone who knew someone. Ash has nothing. He claims he is a wandering kiln worker from the south, but his accent and habits do not match the South. His past is too clean, like someone wiped the slate before handing it to us. Second, on the night we succeeded in smelting iron, everyone was cheering like their souls had left their bodies. Ash stood at the edge of the crowd with the same blank face. A genius craftsman with no past, perfect emotional control, rare skills, and unbelievably convenient timing appears exactly when Yunzhou needs him most. Before Princess Chang'e's letter, I might have called that luck. After Tang Sect and the Black Spider token enter the picture, luck starts looking suspicious in better shoes. So I tell Ash I have a new task for him. I want a fire and theft alarm system for the core of the prince's estate and the core workshops of Qixi Ridge. It has to be hidden, clever, sensitive enough that if someone appears where they should not be, we know immediately. Then I look him in the eye and tell him I do not trust outsiders. I only trust him. That sentence lands in the room like a blade wrapped in silk. Ash lowers his eyes and says one word. Yes, after everyone leaves, Su Wenheng comes back almost immediately, voice low, face tight. He says giving an unknown man our alarm system is absolutely forbidden. That system is our last barrier. If Ash has bad intentions and leaves a hidden weakness in it, we are digging our own grave with both hands. And he is right, which is exactly why I gave Ash the job. If I assign the system to someone we already trust, the enemy only has to corrupt, threaten, or study that trusted person. But if I assign it to the man we suspect, then Ash knows every mechanism he builds will be watched. Every rope, trigger, knot, hinge, and hidden line becomes evidence if he gets careless. If he is innocent, I get a masterwork security system. If he is guilty, I give him a stage and wait for him to step wrong. Trust is clean, suspicion is useful. Su stares at me like he just realized court politics has a basement level. I tell him this is not saintly virtue. This is survival. A double-edged sword is dangerous, yes, but only if you are not holding the hilt. When Su finally leaves, I open the window a crack and let the cold night air hit my face. Yunzhou looks asleep. It is not. Under the workshops, ledgers, guards, furnaces, and new roads, an invisible net has started spreading. Every sound in the dark feels like it might be carrying a knife. And I, a man who wanted to soak in hot springs and age peacefully, am somehow running a city, an ironworks, a spy hunt, and now a security office. My retirement plan did not fail. It was assassinated. Within 3 days, the Bastion project changes Yunzhou's face. At the city gates, guards check everyone with long spears in hand, while household clerks record names, origins, destinations, and guarantors. Patrol teams move through streets and alleys under Luo Cheng's training. The usual idlers and troublemakers suddenly remember they have indoor hobbies. Keishi Ridge becomes even stricter. Guard posts, sentries, colored work badges, restricted areas. A worker cannot wander from one zone to another just because curiosity stretched its legs. The craftsmen complain at first, because people always complain before they notice the extra food. Then their daily meals quietly gain an extra spoonful of real minced pork, and somehow the spirit of cooperation returns. Amazing, governance is complicated but pork remains persuasive. The enemy does not give us long to adjust. On the fourth morning before dawn, the old cook at Keishi Ridge gets up to prepare breakfast for the first shift of miners. He washes rice, boils water, and cooks a great pot of millet porridge until it is thick and golden. When the miners return covered in dust, he serves them bowl after bowl, then scoops one for himself and squats to eat. Watching strong young workers devour hot food is his favorite quiet moment of the day. His bowl is not even half finished when his throat locks. The ceramic bowl drops and shatters. He claws at his own neck, body convulsing, face turning ashen. The miners freeze with porridge still in their mouths. Someone calls for him, someone else stumbles backward. In a dozen breaths, the old cook stops moving. His eyes stay open, the camp breaks, fear moves faster than orders. People whisper that he was possessed, that Keishi Ridge has mountain spirits, that the mine has disturbed something buried in the rocks. The red stone of the ridge suddenly becomes proof to people who were already terrified. Then one voice says they cannot dig anymore. That is all panic needs. It starts turning into mutiny. Duan Huai arrives with a ring-hilted saber and a dozen squad leaders. He does not charge into the crowd. He walks to a water vat and smashes it with the back of his blade. The crack rings through the camp. Water spills everywhere. Everyone shuts up. Duan looks over the crowd and says he fought on the northern frontier for 10 years. He has seen men die in every ugly way war can invent, and he has never once seen the heavens come down to collect a miner because someone swung a pickaxe. Then he points at the loudest panic stirrers. Before you came here, how many meals did your family eat? 2 thin bowls a day. 1 bowl so watery it could show your face. When you arrived, skin and bones, who fed you? Did the mountain hand you porridge? The words hit harder because everyone knows the answer. This mine is frightening, but hunger is not gentler. Running away means going back to waiting for death, or being dragged into hard labor by officials somewhere else. The noise sinks. Once the crowd is under control, Duan takes off his own padded outer robe and covers the old cook's body. His voice goes low. The old man cooked for hundreds of workers from dawn to dusk. He died serving Yunzhou. He will not lie in the dirt with his death unclear. Duan orders a proper coffin, a proper burial, and support for the old cook's family. Then he tells the miners that if the sky falls, he and the prince's estate will hold it up. By the time I arrive, Luo Cheng has sealed the area. The body is stiff, the fingernails are black, the lips are a strange purplish blue. The coroner calls it sudden illness caused by evil winds. I crouch beside the body and say nothing for a moment. This is poison, fast-acting, violent, meant to terrify everyone watching. I order the remaining porridge and the old cook's bowl and chopsticks sealed. Nobody touches them. Then I turn to the miners and call the old man Master He, a worker who died from overwork while helping build Yunzhou. I order a grand funeral, lifetime support for his family, 1 day of rest for every miner, and 2 steamed white buns per person. The crowd does not become happy. It becomes stable. Sometimes leadership is not about telling the whole truth. Sometimes it is about keeping one death from becoming 300 people running into chaos. Back at the estate's secret workshop, I summon Fang Jingheng and place the sealed porridge in front of him. He knows some alchemy and medicine, not enough to brag but enough to test. First, he uses a silver needle. It stays bright, so it is not a metallic poison like arsenic. Then he tests a sample with several liquids. One clear liquid turns the porridge faint purple. Fang's face changes. It reacts to plant-based poisons, things like intestine-breaking grass or aconite. The porridge was poisoned with a rare, highly toxic plant poison. Not good. The enemy is not only aiming at my throat. They are aiming at the furnace plan. Kill a worker, make it look supernatural, scare the miners, and let the project collapse by its own fear. The only mercy is that the poison did not enter the whole pot. Only Master He was affected. That means the attack failed to become a massacre. But 1 death is enough to tell me the shadows are already inside the camp's reach. I order Fang to keep the truth sealed. Then I give Lin Rui the old cook's family background, social circle, and recent contacts to investigate. Luo Cheng must select 20 intelligent, reliable men from his guards, and from Duan's fully loyal former mountain men. Scouts, trackers, quiet workers, anyone who knows how to watch without being watched. Their job is to lurk in the dark and monitor every suspicious person and event at the mine and workshops. Meanwhile, in a corner of Keishi Ridge, Ash is carving wood while apprentices practice firing refractory bricks. A handyman pushing a swill cart passes nearby. The wheel bumps something with a dull clunk. The man curses, rights the cart, and moves on. No one notices the tiny black pebble left on the ground. Ash strolls over later and presses it into the dirt with the tip of his foot. His face stays dull. Inside, he is laughing at how crudely the others handled the poisoning, how many flaws they left behind, and how right his master was to send him. The old cook's death does not trigger open mutiny, but it changes the air. People lower their voices in the streets. Guards become a visible weight in every alley. In the study, the pressure is worse. Su Wenhang, Lin Rui, and Fang Jingheng sit with ledgers and reports instead of tea. It is their third all-nighter. Fang wants priority for blast furnaces no. 2 and number 3, he has optimized the design so the new furnaces can be 2/10 larger and may raise output by 3/10. But he needs iron and refractory bricks. Su cuts him off. Spring plowing is here. Curve shaft plows are still too few. Villages are using old tools. Last winter's drought left the land poor. If we do not repair irrigation canals and improve the soil now, even the best plow will not save the harvest. Fang says without iron there are no plows, no tools, no defense, and the next blockade puts us back on the chopping block. Su says agriculture is the root. Fang says industry is the root that lets the tools exist. Lin Rui sits between them with the numbers, sweating, because the ledgers say the treasury can fully support only one side. And both sides are right, which is exactly the worst kind of argument. I ask Su whether his left hand or right hand is more important. He says both are indispensable. I ask Fang whether armor or a full stomach matters more. He says without food you starve and without armor you get stabbed. Good, everyone has passed the obvious test. Agriculture is our stomach, industry is our armor. Arguing over which one matters more is meaningless, because a starving armored man and a well-fed unarmed man both have terrible endings. So the answer is not choose one. The answer is connect them. Fang must support spring plowing first. I draw a water wheel and several gear-driven machines. The water wheel will lift Blackwater River water to higher and farther fields, directly supporting Su's irrigation work. Then Fang will begin designing hydraulic processing machinery for the autumn harvest, using water power to drive stone mills and reduce the grinding labor that eats farmers alive every year. Fang's eyes light up. Now industry is not competing with agriculture. It is carrying water for it. Then I give Su a new job, an experimental field directly under the prince's estate. From a secret compartment, I take out a small oilcloth-wrapped bag and pour out strange seeds I claim came from a western region's merchant. Potatoes, corn, a few chili seeds. They are ugly, shriveled, and unimpressive, which is exactly how world-changing crops love to introduce themselves. I tell Su to find reliable old farmers, plant them in the estate's field, and record everything. Growth cycle, habits, yield. If they grow in Yunzhou, our food problem changes completely. Su does not fully understand, but by now he has learned that when I bring out something strange, Yunzhou usually ends up eating better or working faster. The argument ends. Agriculture and industry stop fighting over the same bowl and start feeding each other. Ash steps forward then and presents a palm-sized object woven from bamboo and fine thread. He calls it a wind whisperer bird. Placed high, it sings different tones when wind passes through. If someone touches the hidden mechanism thread, the internal structure changes and the sound turns into an alarm. 20 are already installed across the core areas of the estate and Kishi Ridge. I blow gently on it. The sound is clear and bright. Ash completed the task and exceeded it. Beautiful design, practical warning, no visible emotion, wonderful, terrifying, useful, pick all 3. That night, a former gambling house doorman named by nobody important enough to remember is guarding a timber warehouse near the mountain wall at Kishi Ridge. He used to think work meant finding the warmest place to slack off. Then the prince's estate happened to him. Now there is a brazier every 30 steps, guards who actually stay awake, and strange bird calls in the wind that everyone has been drilled to obey. He is wondering whether he can sneak a bun when the familiar slow sound suddenly changes. Beep, 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 sharp, fast, wrong, every hair on his body rises. He does not think, training takes over. He grabs the brass gong and slams it with all his strength. The sound tears open the night. Light from the outpost swings toward him. The warehouse corner is lit bright as day. Luo Cheng appears almost immediately with 2 5-man teams, ring-hilted sabers drawn, small hand crossbows ready. They form a wedge and seal the area. The guard points to the wall. Luo moves in silence. One team flanks along the base. He leads the other toward the alarm point. They find nothing, no footprints, no blood, no figure, only the wind whisperer bird still giving its faint, damaged cry. Then Luo notices a tiny scratch on the top of the 3-zhang wall. One agile guard climbs up and finds the transparent silk thread has been cleanly cut by an extremely sharp tool. At the base of some withered grass, Luo discovers a tiny black iron caltrop, no larger than a fingernail. Its tips have barbs like hooks. One incense stick later, I am back in the study, wrapped in an outer robe, staring at that little black thing on the table while Luo reports. From alarm to arrival, only 30 breaths passed. The intruder still escaped without a trace. That is not a bandit. That is a professional. I inspect the caltrip under candlelight. The barbs are not meant to wound feet. They are for climbing, hooking ropes, and retreating silently. Clear objectives, specialized tool, clean exit. Tang sect is no longer a rumor outside the walls. It touched my wall and left a calling card. I summon Ash. He examines the caltrip, checks the marked brick Luo brought back, and calmly says the intruder's movement technique is high. The tool is for silent rope work, and he has heard rumors from the southern martial world of a sect known for mechanisms and hidden weapons. Very careful, he shows knowledge without saying Tang sect. He stands exactly where an informed outsider would stand. Su says the enemy has begun probing. I say no, this is not a probe. This is a message. They are telling us they can come and go as they please. They are laughing at the Bastion project. So I answer in cement. I order Luo to raise the walls by another 3 feet. The top will not be bricked. It will be poured cement, covered with smashed porcelain shards and iron nails soaked in salt water. Then Duan's engineering corps will dig a trench outside the wall tonight. 3 meters deep, 5 meters wide, filled with sharpened bamboo. I do not care how graceful the intruder's movement is. If he falls, he stays. The order is harsh enough that everyone in the study steadies a little. Fear hates clear instructions. Give men something to build, guard, dig, or sharpen, and panic loses room to breathe. After they leave, I sit alone with the candlelight. This is only the beginning. A malicious game has started, and the other side has already shown poison, rumors, tools, and nerve. At that same wall corner, Ash returns alone under the excuse of checking the damaged mechanism. He crouches, brushes his fingers over the scratch, and extracts a flattened black wax pellet smaller than a grain of rice. He crushes it and smells it. 7 poisonous herbs, mixed into a scent only he can read. The message is simple. Plan changed. Stand by. Ash grinds the wax residue into the dirt beneath his foot. For the first time, the corner of his mouth curves coldly where no one can see it. The more we turn Yunzhou into a fortress, the more valuable he becomes. And when chaos comes, it will be easier for him to find what he wants. Months pass. The external threat never vanishes, but Yunzhou's internal gears do not stop. The experimental fields directly under the prince's estate reach harvest, and the ugly little seeds finally show their teeth. Su Wenheng crouches at the edge of the field and digs up strings of plump golden potatoes. He has read classics half his life and has never seen roots like this. One plant carries enough food to make his hands go still. Lin Rui stands among corn stalks taller than a man, peeling back husks to reveal rows of full golden kernels. His expression is the look of a man seeing grain ledgers change before the ink exists. The Permu yield may far exceed wheat and millet. That sentence alone could rewrite Yunzhou's future. I am also satisfied, obviously for strategic reasons, and also because I can already see boiled potatoes, roasted corn, potato stew, corn soup, and fried potato strips waving at me from a better timeline. I order the harvest brought in, and that evening the prince's estate holds an open-air meal for the old farmers, core artisans, and workshop people. The kitchen boils potatoes in great pots and grills corn over charcoal, brushing it with honey until the smell floats through the courtyard. Then everyone freezes, because the food is new. And new food to a hungry but cautious people looks a lot like a trap wearing steam. I eat first, chewing roasted corn right in front of them, and tell them these are treasures left by the divine farmer. Nourishing, filling, good for winter, good for strength. Once I survive the first bite in public, an old farmer finally picks up a hot potato, takes a careful bite, and goes quiet. The simple warmth spreads through him. Then he smiles. That is all the others need. Chopsticks move, people taste, chew, laugh, and slowly the courtyard turns lively. For one night it works. Then Yunzhou does what Yunzhou always does when handed progress. It starts a rumor. At Faiyuan Tea House, idlers claim the potato is ghost taro, dug from the ground like an unlucky head, absorbing underground yin energy and shortening lives. They say corn looks strange, clearly not human food, maybe brought by a Western region's sorcerer to harm the people. The rumors spread fast. People who were curious yesterday now avoid potatoes, and corn like touching them will deduct years from their lifespan. Su investigates and finds the rumor source points toward minor officials and ruffians once close to hand-tie. They do not dare openly oppose the prince's estate, so they attack with the cheapest weapon in politics, making frightened people even more frightened. Su rushes into my study furious. He wants the rumor spreaders arrested and thrown in prison. He also wants an official decree forcing villages and households to plant the new crops. At that moment, I am in a rocking chair chewing a half-cooked corn cob. This is not my most majestic governing pose, but it is honest. I tell him force will not solve this. You cannot drag a farmer's head to the water and call it drinking. Killing a few rumormongers is easy. Changing people's hearts is hard. So I hand it to Su. He looks like I just assigned a scholar to negotiate with a potato. His first attempt is very Su Wenheng. He writes an elegant ode to divine farmer's gift of grains, claiming the divine farmer saw Yunzhou suffering and appeared in my dream to bestow these 2 divine grains. Old scholars love it. The potato even gains a beautiful new name, Earth Dragon Pearl. The common people remain suspicious. Then Su invites respected village heads, including the old headman from Wonyu village, to a grain tasting event in the state government square. They praise the crops, they try to endorse them. People watch, almost nobody eats. Su develops sores on his lips from worry. At that point, I cannot watch him lose to a vegetable any longer. I call him to the back kitchen and tell him the problem. The more he calls them divine grains, the more people suspect them. Yunzhou farmers have trusted wheat and millet for generations. If someone suddenly puts a strange underground lump in front of them and swears it is holy, of course they hesitate. So we change methods. We stop arguing. We feed them first. I order the potatoes ground into paste, filtered, and made into powder. The corn kernels get ground fine as well. Su asks what this is for. Bait. 3 days later, the prince's estate porridge stall serves its usual thin porridge with 1 extra spoonful of golden, sweet, fine millet paste. The porridge suddenly tastes better, thicker, warmer. People notice, they do not complain. At Kishi Ridge, miners receive 2 extra golden pan-fried mixed grain cakes with their meals. Crisp outside, soft inside, naturally sweet, and far better than the hard black flour cakes that can threaten a man's teeth. When someone asks Duan where the cakes came from, he says the prince allocated precious golden millet flour from the estate stores because the workers are laboring hard. The workers eat. That is the whole strategy. No lecture, no decree, no divine essay, just free food that tastes good and fills the stomach. For half a month, potato flour and corn flour quietly enter the daily bowls of refugees, workers, and common people under the disguise of golden millet paste and golden millet cakes. The rumors fade because nobody is talking about ghost tarot anymore. They are too busy asking for seconds. Then Su raises a platform in the state government square again. This time he does not start with a tasting event. He piles baskets of corn and potatoes on stage, brings out the stone mills, and asks the crowd how the porridge paste and construction site cakes have tasted for the past half-month. Delicious, filling, the answers come at once. Su smiles and points to the powder. These are the raw materials. In front of everyone, workers feed potatoes and corn into the stone mills. Golden powder pours out. The square falls silent. People stare at the potatoes, then at the cakes in their hands, then back at the potatoes. One man finally stammers that the golden millet cakes they have been eating for half a month were made from ghost taro. And they were delicious. The crowd breaks into shock, laughter, and realization all at once. Now Su speaks. Potatoes and corn may look strange, but they are drought-resistant, tolerate poor soil, and yield several times more than wheat and millet. With them, Yunzhou will no longer fear barren years with 9 droughts out of 10. Granaries can fill, families can survive winter. Then he announces my order. Next spring, the prince's estate will distribute potato and corn seeds free to all self-cultivating farmers in Yunzhou. Agricultural technicians will go village by village to teach planting methods. Yunzhou will turn barren land beyond the pass into fields other regions envy. The square erupts. Long live the prince! Long live the prince! The roar rolls through Yunzhou. And while they cheer, I sit on the roof of the distant prince's estate, eating fried potato strips and listening with deep professional humility. Fine, with even deeper satisfaction. Food is solved, or at least the path is open. Next year's grain yield can rise hard enough to change everything. I look toward the furnace fires at Kishi Ridge and the expanding estate below. Iron is burning, food is growing, the assassins are circling, and winter is still waiting. If people are going to survive Yunzhou properly, furs alone will not do. They are expensive, rough, and not exactly built for a man with hot spring standards. So after food, the next problem is clothing. Cotton. Somehow I need to make Yunzhou grow cotton at scale. Winter reaches Yunzhou before my cotton plan does, which means the assassins can wait in line because the cold is trying to kill everybody first. Deep autumn passes under hammer clangs and furnace roars. Then the north wind kicks open Yunzhou's gates. Snow slaps the new cement roads, and winter arrives like it has personal issues with human survival. This year, Yunzhou is better prepared. The roads no longer turn into mud traps. Cheap honeycomb briquettes burn hot and almost smokeless. Curved shaft plows and irrigation raise ordinary harvests by 1 to 2 tenths. And workshop grain wages give many families surplus food for the first time. Food is not the sharpest knife anymore. Clothing is. In my study, I have a silver fox cloak, hot spring pipes under the cement floor, and a smokeless coal fireplace beside me. I am still cold. Silk is luxury pretending to be clothing. It looks rich, feels smooth, and lets winter walk straight through like it paid rent. Lin Rui asks if I want more charcoal. I tell him I want padded clothes. Thick inside, light, soft, warm like a quilt. He says cotton padded clothes. Finally, cotton? Then his face drops because in Yunzhou, cotton costs more than silk. It grows, but processing it is torture. So I tell him to show me. Half an hour later, I stand in the prince's agricultural technology workshop. A dozen women and children sit around gray-white cotton bowls, picking seeds out by hand. It is slow, painful, ugly, fingers are swollen, nails are split. A little girl cuts herself on a sharp seed hull and tries not to cry too loudly. Su Wenheng gives me the number. A skilled woman working all day can clean less than half a caddy of cotton. One mew produced more than 100 caddies. At this speed, these people could spend the whole winter just cleaning one harvest. There it is. Cotton is not expensive because it is rare. It is expensive because the process is eating people's hands. I walk to the little girl and ask to see her hand. She comes forward timidly. I kneel, take out trauma medicine Fang Jingheng prepared while we were guarding against Tang's sect poison, and carefully dust the wound. The pain eases, her eyes widen, then I stand and tell everyone to stop. From today on, this work will not be done this way. I call Su and Fang over, pick up charcoal and draw a box with a crank, a toothed roller and a tight iron grating. Fang crouches so fast he almost becomes part of the floor. I call it a cotton gins. Raw cotton goes in, the teeth pull the fibers through. The grating blocks the seeds. Cotton leaves one side, seeds drop from the other. One person can do in an hour what a whole shed struggles through in a day. And nobody bleeds for it. Su goes silent, Fang's eyes start burning. He understands the mechanism before I finish explaining it, and his voice shakes when he says if this can be built, it will not only solve Yunzhou's winter clothing problem, it may change the textile world. I tell him he has 10 days to build the first working prototype. Materials come from the storeroom. No excuses. He grabs the sketch and runs toward the workshop like I just handed him a sacred text with gears. 10 days in Yunzhou means 10 days and nights of cold wind scraping the walls. Inside the red forbidden workshop behind the estate, the sketch becomes a real machine. Elmwood body, side crank, gears, connecting rods, iron teeth, tongue oil, and the clean smell of new work. When I enter the shed again, the women are still picking seeds by hand, but their eyes keep sliding toward the red cloth covering the machine in the middle. Fang pulls the cloth away. The women gasp and step back. Fair? A box of wood and iron that claims it will save your fingers does not automatically earn trust. Yunzhou has already survived enough miracles to know every miracle still needs a demonstration. I feed a large handful of raw cotton into the hopper. Then I look at the little girl with the healing finger and ask her to turn the handle. She hides behind her mother. Her mother kneels, afraid the child will break the precious machine. I tell her if it breaks, I will build another one. This machine was made for small hands like hers. The girl finally grips the handle and turns. Creak, the gears move. I tell her faster. The handle smooths out, the machine begins to hum, and the raw cotton disappears into the teeth. At the other end, clean white cotton spills out. Fluffy, seedless, soft, piling on the floor like a little drift of snow. From the lower side, stripped black cotton seeds rattle out separately. In moments, the whole handful is finished. The shed goes completely still. The girl is still turning the crank, not tired, not hurt, almost excited now that the terrifying machine has become a game. One woman steps forward, picks up the clean cotton, feels it, looks at the girl's smooth hands and breaks. She hugs her daughter and sobs that her child will never have to pick her hands bloody again. Nobody jokes. There are inventions that make money, and inventions that give people back pieces of their bodies. This one does both. Su watches the machine, and politics wakes up behind his eyes. He says Yunzhou can expand cotton planting, build 100 ginning machines, spin cheap cotton yarn, and weave simple cloth for soldiers and commoners. Not luxury, warmth, sweat absorption, everyday survival. That low-end market belongs to Jiangnan silk and linen merchants. Now we can bite into it, and the machine itself can be sold only under Yunzhou's terms. Acknowledge Yunzhou created it first and pay a heavy usage fee. Su Wenheng, who once looked at potatoes like they were suspicious stones, is now planning textile warfare in real time. Growth, beautiful and slightly alarming. I approve his plan and give only one condition. The first batch of cotton clothes next year goes to these women, and to every worker in the workshops and mines. Anyone who has sweated for Yunzhou gets warmth first. Also, obviously, one coat must be made for me. Long, hooded, filled with the softest cotton. I can fight Jiangnan later. I would like to fight it while warm. That winter night, I am in my study with thick cotton curtains blocking the wind, smokeless coal burning in the fireplace, and Fang's preliminary design for a city central heating system in my hands. I have hot milk beside me and a warm room around me. For one rare moment, life looks almost civilized. Then someone knocks 3 times, urgent and restrained. Cao Yunheng slips in through the side door. The northern director of Wanbao Pavilion should be 1,000 li away handling trade routes. Instead, he is in a half-worn fur coat and a low felt hat, sweating through the cold. He bolts the door, drops to his knees, and begs me to save him. I remind him that we signed a contract. I sent him for grain and iron. After the first batch, nothing came, then he vanished. Now he is kneeling in my study. So I ask whether my blade looks dull to him. Cao shakes and pulls out an oilcloth package from inside his robe. He says Jiangnan ordered him to cut contact with me, and he did not dare disobey. But now he has come to pledge loyalty, and the package is his offering. Lin Rui opens it. Inside is a thin parchment booklet, packed with tiny coded writing. Cao says it records decades of Wanbao Pavilion's secret dealings with the Jiang family, Tang sect, and other factions. Not accounts, deaths. One entry says Beiqiating refused to sell rare poisonous herbs to Tang sect at a low price. 3 months later, its young master drank licorice soup and died bleeding from all 7 orifices. The official case called it harmless licorice. The ledger says ghost grass turns deadly when it meets licorice. Another says the Zhou family of Jinmingkang refused the Jiang family's canal transport alliance. 6 months later, the family head, his wife, children, and 13 relatives all drowned in their backyard lotus pond. The official verdict was accident. The ledger says fish sinking powder on broken boat nails paralyzed them in the water. Refusal, accident, hidden method, again and again. The Jiang family did not build only with money. They built with bodies. I closed the ledger and asked Cao how many copies exist, and whether the Jiang family knows he has it. He says he secretly copied and recorded it over 20 years. He claims there is only this one copy, and the Jiang family only thinks of him as their accounting dog. I do not fully believe a man like Cao survived this long with only one safeguard, but the blade in front of me is real. So I help him up. From today on, he is no longer the Jiang family's dog. He is Yunzhou's Minister of Finance, an ally standing with me. Then I give the ledger back, not because it is unimportant, because it is too important to expose too early. A blade has to be sharpened, aimed, and drawn at the right moment. Until then, we endure. Cao says he is willing to die 10,000 times for me. I tell him to stop saying death like it is useful. I need him alive making money because hot spring pools do not build themselves. After Lin Rui secretly settles him in Yunzhou, I sit alone with the night outside the window. Jiang family, Tang sect, financial war, rumor war, assassination. Fine, they have poisons and monopolies. I have their buried history. Deep winter keeps Yunzhou's surface still, but our hidden net keeps catching tremors. One dawn at the mass grave site west of the city, one of Luo Cheng's investigators notices a fresh mound. Scavengers ignore the old graves and keep returning to this new one. He does not touch it. He reports through the secret signals. Half an hour later, Luo Cheng surrounds the site with Xian Wang guard members. They dig up the grave and find a body wrapped carelessly in a straw mat. The clothes look like a vagrant's. There are no obvious wounds. One guard says he probably froze to death and someone buried him out of pity. Luo disagrees. The dead man smells faintly of cheap alcohol and garlic. His hands are dirty but not cracked like a starving wanderer's. He had eaten better than his clothes suggest. So Luo seals the scene and reports to me. When I arrive, I do not call the usual coroner. Against Tang sect methods, checking for sword wounds is not enough. I bring Fang and Ash. Inside the temporary examination tent, Fang checks the mouth, nose, ears, and esophagus with a thin silver needle. No poisoning signs, no abnormality in the throat. Then I look at Ash. He steps forward and studies the hands and feet first. With a bone probe, he picks dried black dirt from beneath the fingernails, places it on white cloth, and examines it through a small piece of glazed glass. There is reddish-brown powder in the dirt, matching Kishi Ridge iron ore. So this vagrant had been inside or near our most guarded place shortly before he died. Ash keeps going. He scrapes the molars and finds meat fibers. The teeth are worn smooth, not like someone who has lived long on coarse grain. Then he cleans a dirty patch on the inner ankle and reveals faint bluish marks. He says the marks come from iron wire grass sap, common on damp cliffs in Shu region. Climbers use it to numb their hands and feet, improve grip, and reduce fatigue. The marks last for years. Shu Ridge and climbing hidden methods. Nobody needs to say Tang sect out loud. This body tells us our guests have arrived, and at least one already reached Yunzhou's heartland. Luo reports the man's likely death. Last night at a West City tavern called One Bowl Down, 3 strange accented guests were drinking. One, matching this body, argued with his companions while drunk, got pushed, hit the back of his head on a wall corner and died. The other 2 wrapped the body and carried it away under night cover. Accident? No. Silencing. He infiltrated Kishi Ridge, exposed something, and his companions cut him off before he could become a loose thread. I order Lin Rui to bring the tavern owner and staff to the Yamen prison immediately, not for punishment but protection. Publicly, we say they sold fake liquor that poisoned someone, seal the tavern, and lock them up first. The enemy cannot silence witnesses we have already hidden inside our own jail. Then Luo searches every carriage inn, regular inn, and hostel in the city for the other 2 strange accented guests. No alarm, no noise. I want lodgings, luggage, and clues. After everyone leaves, I look at the body. The enemy is cautious and ruthless. Once one of their people risks exposure, they remove him. But the body also proves something else. Our net is working, they are making mistakes, and if they keep leaving threads, I will keep pulling. While Yunzhou hunts the invisible guests, another move lands at Wangxi Town, on the border between Yunzhou and Qin province. The place is messy, half poor Yunzhou people, half Qin province military families, and nobody fully in charge. Now the main intersection is packed. Not for a performance, not for an official scolding, for a huge recruitment prospectus written on white hemp paper. At the top, 8 gilded characters announce the Yunzhou Xian Wang Guard Industrial Park. The benefits make every artisan in town forget how to breathe. It wants blacksmiths, carpenters, stonemasons, potters, and other skilled workers. Hired artisans get 10 taels of silver per month. No upper limit, extra rewards for major innovations, food and lodging with meat at every meal, family housing in Yunzhou, and after 3 years, free enlightenment school for their children with outstanding students recommended to the provincial academy. 10 taels a month, meet every meal, a house, and school for the children. For Qin province artisans who feel lucky to see 1 tael a month, this is not recruitment. This is Yunzhou stealing people by treating them like humans. An old blacksmith who has forged iron for Qin officials for 20 years curses that he still cannot afford a decent cotton coat. He says he is going to Yunzhou, even if he dies on the road. Others follow. The young scribe Lin Rui sent steps onto the platform and announces that Yunzhou welcomes all skilled workers. Register here, carriages and horses wait at the border. Reach them and the prince's estate guarantees safety. Within 3 days, hundreds of Qin province artisans sell belongings, gather families, and head toward Yunzhou, which means Shen Xiaoyang hears about it. Cut to Qin province. The third prince kicks over a rosewood table hard enough to scatter brushes, ink, paper, and ink stones across the floor. He curses me for poaching people under his nose and asks if I am trying to empty Qin province. A heavily armored general reports the military workshops are already panicking. Several old masters responsible for core processes have fled. If this continues, Qin province weapon manufacturing and repair may stop. Shen Xiaoyang does not calm down. He orders every pass to Yunzhou sealed. The border general must guard strictly. Anyone defecting to Yunzhou will be treated as colluding with the enemy and executed without mercy. Then he goes further. He orders several leading artisans brought to the entrance of Wangxi town, publicly beheaded, and their heads hung from the tallest flagpole. He wants everyone to see the price of leaving him. 3 days later, Wangxi town smells of blood and cold wind. 3 heads hang at the town entrance. Qin soldiers search house to house. Anyone who tried to go to Yunzhou is arrested. Some are flogged in the street. Back in my study, I am on the soft couch by the window, reading a travelogue, warm sun on my shoulders, ready to close the book and steal a nap. Then Lin Rui rushes in so fast he forgets to bow. Something happened in Wangxi town. I open one eye and ask if third brothers smashed our recruitment booth. Lin says it is worse and hands me the urgent secret report. I read it once, my face stops moving. Shen Xiaoyang has arrested fleeing artisans. 3 master craftsmen have been publicly beheaded, heads displayed at the town entrance. The border is sealed. Anyone trying to defect to Yunzhou is treated as a traitor, and their entire family may be executed. The study feels emptied of air. I fold the paper, then fold it again, then crush it in my palm. He killed them for choosing work, for trying to feed their families somewhere better. I thought we were playing a talent war. Money, benefits, recruitment, pressure, counterpressure. He answered with heads on a pole. Some people do not understand a line until blood stains it. I stand and walk to the map. I do not look at Qin province. I look at capital city. I ask Lin Rui whether a father would watch one son openly bully another with a blade. Lin hesitates and says probably not. I say that depends on the father. But at least an emperor who wants the mask of fairness does not like being embarrassed in public. So I issued 2 orders. First, send the full account of Wangxi town, including Shen Xiaoyang's order to execute entire families, by the fastest channel to Princess Chengel Shen Yuying. She will find a way to leak it to the censors and officials in the capital who love preaching benevolence and righteousness. If Shen Xiaoyang wants public terror, I will give him public consequences. Second, bring Luo Cheng. When Luo reads the report, rage hits his face at once. He asks to lead troops, flatten Wangxi town, and avenge Yunzhou's brothers. I tell him revenge has more than one shape. Today, we are not crossing the border to start a war. We are going to slap Shen Xiaoyang so hard he cannot legally complain. I ask whether the Xian Wang Guard has ever truly shown itself. Never. Good. Then today is their first appearance. Luo will gather the 100 best men under him. They will wear the workshop's finest black iron plate armor and carry the sharpest modao. They will raise my idol Prince banner and go to Wangxi town. They are not going to attack. They are going to welcome people. They will stop on Yunzhou territory, right outside the town entrance, beneath those hanging heads, and form a battle array. No shouting, no reckless killing. Their armor, weapons, discipline, and presence will say the message for me. This is Yunzhou's line. Those who cross it to harm our people die. Those who come to Yunzhou for protection will be protected. I want the living artisans to see that I can shield them. I want the dead to know their blood will not be wasted. And I want Shen Xiaoyang to understand that the heads he hung up are not a warning to me. They are evidence against him. Luo kneels and accepts. Outside Wangxi town, dust rises on the road to Yunzhou. A large banner with the character Xian appears first. Under it comes about 100 men in uniform black plate armor forged from Yunzhou's own fine iron. Silver crests gleam on their chests. Each man carries a long-handled modao, blades bright, steps even, formation silent. Luo Cheng leads them. He does not enter the town. He stops on Yunzhou territory, 100 paces from the entrance. The Xian Wang Guard forms a square formation. 100 modao hilts strike the ground at once. Thump, the sound rolls over Wangxi town like muted thunder. The Qin soldiers who were swaggering moments ago tighten their grips on their weapons. The Qin province border general rides out and demands to know who dares deploy troops here. Luo sits on his horse, face still, then draws his saber and points toward the heads on the flagpole. He says he is Luo Cheng, captain of the Yunzhou Xian Wang Guard. Those heads belong to artisans recruited by Yunzhou. They are Yunzhou citizens. By my command, he has come to bring Yunzhou citizens home. Then his gaze sweeps over the Qin soldiers, and his voice carries across the town entrance. From now on, any artisan who crosses this line toward Yunzhou receives the protection of the Xian Wang Guard. Whoever harms even one hair on them becomes the enemy of all Yunzhou. The blades of the Xian Wang Guard are forged to protect our homeland, but they never hesitate to cut off the heads of those who offend Yunzhou. At Wangxi town, Luo Cheng does not break the border with a charge. He breaks it with meat porridge. The official road called First Line of Sky is howling with north wind. On one side, Qin province's General Lin Meng stands with more than 100 provincial soldiers, who look less like an army and more like men regretting their breakfast choices. On the other side, Luo Cheng holds formation with 100 Xian Wang guards. Black plate armors, long-handled modao, no shouting, no shaking. The whole square formation stands so still, it makes the Qin soldiers look even colder. Lin Meng rides forward and accuses them of amassing troops at the border to rebel. Luo does not answer. He raises one hand, and two cook soldiers walk out carrying a giant iron pot. Everybody freezes, because apparently Yunzhou's first border move is lunch. The cooks set up a stove, light honeycomb briquettes, pour in pure white rice, then throw in a full 10-pound piece of spiced cured meat cut into big chunks. Steam rises. Rice fragrance, meat oil, and spices roll straight across the wind into the Qin formation. One by one, stomachs betray their owners. These soldiers usually chew black flatbread and call it duty. Now a pot of meat porridge is committing psychological warfare in public. Only after the porridge thickens does Luo speak. Xian Wang has decreed that no Yunzhou citizen goes hungry. He draws a line with his horsewhip and says this pot is the boundary marker. This bowl of porridge is the doorway home. Anyone who wants to return to Yunzhou only has to cross 100 paces. Anyone who stops them becomes the Xian Wang guard's enemy. A captured young artisan looks at the heads on the flagpole. Then he smells the porridge. Then fear finally loses to hunger and grief. He screams that he wants to go home and runs. Qin archers raise their bows. Lin Meng grips his saber. For one breath, the whole road balances on a blade. But he does not give the order. He does not dare. Yunzhou's men have not crossed the line. They have not attacked. They are standing on their own ground, feeding their own people. If Lin Meng fires first, he becomes the man who started a border conflict over a bowl of porridge. Also, very honestly, his underfed soldiers do not look eager to test black iron armor. A Xian Wang guard steps forward and hands the artisan a full bowl with meat piled high. The young man collapses holding it, crying into the steam. That is the moment the dam breaks. More artisans shout that they are going home. They surge toward Yunzhou's side. Qin soldiers lower weapons without orders. They stare at the porridge, at the armor at the heads, and suddenly nobody knows what they are supposed to be defending. Lin Meng closes his eyes. Then he orders retreat. Luo salutes from across the line, withdraws in perfect formation, and escorts Yunzhou's new artisans away. Behind them, Wangxi town is left with trampled snow, cold ash, jealous soldiers, and three heads hanging like proof that terror just lost to a hot meal in discipline. Meanwhile, in capital city, Princess Chengel Shen Yuying moves even more quietly. Her mansion is warm, elegant, and full of noblewomen drinking tribute tea, while Winter sits outside the windows pretending to be scenery. Among the guests is Madame Lin, wife of Lin Heicheng, the left censor-in-chief of the censorate. Her husband is famous for one thing: if he thinks you are wrong, he will impeach you. Princess Changel sighs about worrying for her seventh brother in the north. Then, very accidentally, a letter slips from her sleeve and lands near Madame Lin's feet. The ink on the important lines is just heavy enough to catch the eye. Wangxi town, craftsmen slaughtered, heads displayed, third brother treating lives like grass. Madame Lin sees enough. She returns the letter, and the two women speak softly like nothing happened. But both of them understand exactly what just happened. That night, Madame Lin brings lotus seed soup to her husband, and gently mentions the family letter she saw. She says Princess Changel is worried because Shen Qing'an wrote that craftsmen fleeing to Yunzhou were captured, 3 leaders were killed, their heads were displayed, and Shen Shaoyang ordered any artisan going to Yunzhou treated as a traitor with the whole family executed. Lin Heicheng's hand freezes around the soup bowl. Then the bowl smashes. He is not angry because he heard gossip. He is angry because he finally has a blade. His wife tells him not to be impulsive. After all, it is only a princess's private letter. That makes it worse. Because would Princess Changel and the sickly idle prince invent something this bloody in a family letter? Lin Heicheng spreads fresh paper, picks up his brush, and tells his wife to grind ink. Tonight he impeaches Prince Yang. The next day in the Hall of Supreme Harmony, the court is moving through its usual stale reports when Lin Heicheng steps out with his tablet. His voice cuts through the hall. He impeaches Prince Yang Shen Shaoyang for disregarding national law, harming loyal subjects, massacring common people, and acting no different from a rebel. The entire court goes silent. Shen Shaoyang explodes first, calling him a mad dog and threatening to tear his mouth off. Emperor Shen Hongzhang silences him from the throne. Then he asks Lin Heicheng for evidence. Lin presents a memorial. It contains rumors, reports, and the real hook at the end. He overheard Princess Changel's family letter from Shen Qing'an, and the letter also mentioned the Wangxi town tragedy in sorrowful detail. Now the emperor is trapped between 2 ugly answers. Call it false and he is calling Princess Changel and me liars. Call it true and Shen Shaoyang publicly slaughtered people for trying to work. Shen Rui, the crown prince, stands at the front with his usual gentle expression, watching the fire spread without touching the match. The emperor chooses balance. He calls it a quarrel between brothers and mishandling by subordinates. He says Lin Heicheng was loyal but overstated it. He says Shen Shaoyang acted recklessly but did not intend such a disaster. Then the decree lands. Prince Yang Shen Shaoyang is fined 1 year's salary and confined to his residence for 3 months. General Lin Meng is to be escorted to the capital and handed to Dali Temple for strict interrogation. And Lin Heicheng receives a strange reward. A 3-foot rosewood dog-beating staff, engraved with by imperial decree beat dogs. The whole court has no idea what to do with that. The emperor says Lin Heicheng may use it to punish evil dogs like Lin Meng on his behalf. It sounds glorious, it is also a leash. Shen Shaoyang keeps his power. Lin Meng becomes the scapegoat. Lin Heicheng gets honor, but only against targets the emperor permits. Still, one result matters to me. 3 months? When the capital's secret report reaches Yunzhou, I am lying on a new thick cotton reclining chair in early spring, reading Cao Yuanheng's snowflake salt sales report from several southern gray channels. Luo Cheng brings the bamboo tube. I read about the dog-beating staff and laugh before I can stop myself. My imperial father really turned a murder scandal into family counseling with props. Su Wenheng and Lin Rui are angry. Shen Shaoyang only gets a fine and confinement. That is too light. I point at the real prize. 3 months? For 3 months, third brother is pinned in Qin province. He cannot move troops openly. He cannot interfere with the border freely. And that is exactly the window Yunzhou needs. So I give orders. Phase 2 of the furnace project accelerates. High furnaces number 2 and number 3 must ignite and produce iron within 2 months. All new agricultural tools, all water conservancy projects, and the first deployment of trial crops must be finished inside these 3 months. And Su must make sure Yunzhou's first cotton cloth reaches the shelves after autumn next year. 3 months is not justice, but it is time, and time in Yunzhou turns into iron. Then my bathtub arrives. Early morning in the back courtyard, I follow a creaking cart carrying a huge newly fired white porcelain bathtub, the core of my hot spring project. 2 engineering corps men push it toward the gate. 2 Xian Wang guards cross their halberds and stop them. All large items entering the core area must be inspected. I ask how they plan to inspect one solid bathtub. Smash it open and check if an assassin is curled inside. The guard says rules are rules, then starts checking every corner with a small bronze mirror. I look at Luo Cheng like he personally stabbed my relaxation. He says extraordinary times require extraordinary measures. The worst part is he is right. I built this security system, and now my bathtub has to pass inspection. While I am still mourning my dignity, Luo lowers his voice. I warn him that if this is another report about a bun seller needing too much dough, I will lose what remains of my mind. But this one is real. A southern medicine merchant has appeared in the West City medicinal herb black market. He claims to possess dragon's beard phoenix saliva grass, collected from the abyss of Shu region, a treasure seen once in 100 years. Supposedly add a pinch to hot spring water, and the whole pool becomes smooth as jade, silky as silk, fragrant enough to calm the mind. They call it immortal soup. My hand freezes around my tea. Immortal soup. For a hot spring, I have resisted assassins, blockades, poison, court politics, and winter. But a bath upgrades, that hits a weak point. I slam the cup down and ask where the merchant is. Su and Luo panic immediately. They say this is obviously bait to lure me out of the prince's estate. I still announce that at Su hour tonight I will personally meet him. Nobody is allowed to ruin my good deed. They look like their prince has chosen death for skincare. That night the moon is dark and the wind is high outside Yunzhou city. At the abandoned Po Shan temple, wind-proof lamps flicker by broken walls. I enter the main hall wrapped in thick fox fur, surrounded by my personal guards. The southern medicine merchant waits inside with one antique wooden box. Several hundred paces around the temple, Luo Cheng has already placed 50 elite Xian Wang guards, and Duan Hua has brought 100 fierce soldiers from the engineering corps. Yes, I came for the bait. I also brought soldiers. Inside the hall, I ask where the herb is. The merchant opens the box. A strange emerald grass lies inside, faintly glowing, shaped like a dragon's beard. I step forward. The merchant suddenly throws the box down. Yellow-green smoke bursts out, pungent and sweet, swallowing the hall. My guard captain shouts poison and orders everyone to hold their breath. But the real killing move is not the smoke. In the corner, a beggar who had been curled up like trash suddenly moves. He slides along the ground without a sound, boneless and fast, straight behind me. Nobody sees his strike clearly. Only the air tears. A cold star shoots from his mouth toward the vital point in my back. Fast, accurate, ruthless, Tang sect, cut to Jiangnan, Wuzhen. In the Jiang family's warm waterside pavilion, Jiang Yuqin listens to a black-clad steward report that Black Spider's ambergris bait trap has been set. By tonight there should be a result. Jiang Yuqin smiles. He thought I might be difficult. Instead, the report says I am a pleasure seeker willing to risk myself for bathwater. He orders the second phase prepared. Once news of my death reaches Yunzhou, the Jiang family's mercenary forces on the northern trade routes will move under the excuse of mourning me and investigating the killer. They will throw Yunzhou into chaos. The court will see bandits everywhere, suffering people everywhere, and decide the north needs someone capable to control it. Someone like their ally Shen Sheiyang. As for the snowflake salt formula, Tang sect will retrieve it. A dead man has no use for secrets. Jiang Yuqin closes his eyes, already imagining Yunzhou's industrial park burning, the capital shocked, and my land, iron, and salt falling neatly into other hands. Meanwhile, far away in Shu region inside Tang family fortress, a masked man kneels before a black curtain. Behind it sits the Tang sect master. The masked man reports that Ash 7's last message says the target's guards are stronger than normal soldiers. The fortress is full of mechanisms, and someone seems to be guiding the defenses. The sect master dismisses the word expert. In front of Tang sect, no one deserves that title. Ash 7's mission is not assassination. His job is to gain my trust and obtain the cement formula and snowflake salt formula. The real assassination is the ambergris bait trap, built around my weakness for comfort. After tonight, when Yunzhou falls into chaos, Ash 7 will wait for further orders. Then the Sectmaster walks to a large sandbox map of Great Xia. A pale hand lifts a black chess piece marked for Prince Xian Shen Kingen and places it on Yunzhou. Interesting young man, he says. Too bad he blocked too many people's paths. Then he removes the piece from Yunzhou and drops it into the discard pile.